What if Team 7's growth was significantly altered by the fierce mentorship of Anko Mitarashi? How will their dynamics change as they face new challenges together? Let's jump back into this thrilling alternate storyline. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you missed part 1 of What If Team 7 Had a Second Sensei, I highly recommend you check it out first. Link is in the description. In this second part, we continue to explore how Hiruzen's decision to bring Anko on board alongside Kakashi impacts Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. With Anko's unique training methods and her fiery spirit, how will the team adapt to this new dynamic? Get ready for more exciting twists and turns as they embark on their journey. This amazing story is written by juwby. Don't forget to support the author and check out the original work. There's a link to it in the description below. Before we dive into part 2, I just want to say a huge thank you for all the support you've shown. We're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers, and I'd love your help to hit that goal. If you're enjoying this content, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means everything to me. Alright, let's jump back into What If Team 7 Had a Second Sensei? Here we go with part 2. A couple months after the Flame Festival, Team 7 was coming back from a successful C rank. Man, what a disappointment. Literally, nothing happened. We just sat there guarding a herd of cows, complained Naruto. That's a good thing, Naruto. I thought we had already gone over this. You shouldn't go looking for a fight, scolded Anko. Yeah, but I wanted to guard something cool, like a bank or an artifact, not cows. As much as I hate to agree with Naruto, this mission was terrible. We've only fought bandits and people who barely have a grasp on chakra. I think we have grown strong enough to be tested by opponents near our level, voiced Sasuke. Anko glanced at Sakura. Do you believe the same? She asked, curious about her thoughts. Yeah, I do. I'm not saying our experience so far isn't useful, but we can never really know how strong we are until we face another ninja. Anko looked over to Kakashi, and he shrugged. To be honest with you guys, our luck as a team has been very good. Usually, by this point, we would have run into ninjas on one of our C ranks, while the ranking system is supposed to signify danger. It's not perfect, but if you guys really want to be tested, then I'll ask the Hokage for AB rank. The Genin perked up. Really, you're the best, sis, complimented Naruto. Calm down. I can't make any promises, but I'll try to ask. Trust me, you guys are not the only ones bored with these missions. But don't think this is some sort of game. When I said we were lucky, I meant it. Don't forget the dangers that come with being a shinobi. Kakashi was at the front, enjoying the banter from his team. It made him nostalgic for his Team 7. In Anbu, it was completely silent during travel, so this was a nice change of pace. They were jumping through a dense forest, and the sound of wildlife and them hopping from branch to branch filled the air. Something peculiar caught Kakashi's attention, and he halted on a branch. The rest of the team mirrored his action, their curiosity piqued. What's wrong, Kakashi-sensei? Questioned Sakura. Kakashi stood for another moment. He had to make sure what he sensed was correct. He lifted his headband, revealing his Sharingan, and looked east. It verified what he felt. Kakashi's actions made everyone tense. Do we have enemies incoming, Kakashi? Asked Anko, as she put Sanbon between her fingers. Kakashi pointed east. Someone is emitting their chakra in a distinct pattern. I'm familiar with it. Anbu employ it as a distress signal, indicating a grave situation, Kakashi explained, his voice tinged with concern. Why does that mean someone needs help? Asked Sakura. No, because Anbu never call for help if we are at risk of capture or death. They usually destroy their bodies. They only signal for help if they have essential info they have to pass on before their deaths. If someone is in trouble, then we have to help them, proclaimed Naruto. Kakashi looked at Anko. Do you think it's a good idea to bring the team? I can just go check it myself. Anko looked over to the Genin. They all did their best. Please don't leave us face. Anko sighed. I believe in them. Plus, we just talked about them needing more formidable challenges. Kakashi nodded. Okay, follow me. It's in this direction. They came upon an open clearing, and Kakashi had to hold back his shock. There were the scattered and bloody bodies of Leaf Anbu. Kakashi quickly searched for any nearby chakra signature. The source of the signal was one of the bodies against the tree. One of them is still alive, stated Kakashi. Kakashi then gave orders to the team. Sakura, go with Anko and see if you can sense any nearby chakra signatures. Naruto, Create a few shadow clones and scan the surrounding area. If one is destroyed, report it immediately, and Sasuke, you're with me. Team 7, in perfect synchrony, followed Kakashi's orders and swiftly went to their assigned roles. Kakashi dropped down to the Anbu's side and checked for a pulse. It was faint, but he was still alive. He checked the man over to see if he could patch up any wounds to save his life, but outside of a few cuts and bruises, there were no injuries that would result in the ninja's critical condition. Abruptly, one of the man's eyes opened and he coughed, the action bringing him pain. The signal actually worked. I didn't expect it to do shit. What happened here? I recognized that voice, Kakashi? The survivor's voice was filled with surprise and intrigue. Wait, don't tell me, Ebero. It's you. Good to see you again, Captain. Kakashi held back his shame at watching another comrade die and asked for details. Please, Ebero, tell me what happened. In a strained, raspy voice, Ebero began to explain. We were doing a check. Jiraiya found some info that led us to think there was a spy for Orochimaru in the village and that they may have a meeting in this area. Ebero began coughing again, and Kakashi quickly let him sip from his canteen. We ran into a genin, and we observed him for but it just seemed he was picking herbs. Everyone else wanted to leave, but my curiosity got the better of me. I told them to check out his bag that he left unattended. He was on us in a second. He was using a special technique. With his hands, he would slice at us, and it was like he was cutting through your body. Crow went down immediately, and we engaged. He demolished us. I haven't seen anyone fight like that since you. I think he thought he killed me. He aimed for my heart, but he must have missed by a few centimeters. Lucky me, I guess. Ebero gave a humorless chuckle and began to cough again, this time expelling blood. Come on, stay with me. We can get you back to the village. Ah, Captain. Still a bleeding heart? Erebo looked Kakashi straight in the eyes through his mask. Can you take off my mask? I want the world to see my beautiful face in my last moments, he said, still finding a chance to be humorous in his last moments. Kakashi obliged and took off his mask to reveal Erebeo's face. He was middle-aged, with brown hair graying at the ends, a patchy beard, and an old scar across his cheek. Erebo looked up to the sun behind the canopy of the trees. You know, when I was under you, I thought this leader shit would be easy, but look at me now. I got my entire squad killed. It's not your fault. There is nothing you could have done. Erebo used the last of his strength to put his hand on Kakashi's shoulder. Captain, I need you to do something. Don't let that bastard get away with this. Don't let me and my men die in vain. The info we got said the meeting would take place sometime past noon. You still have time. He went north. That's probably where the meeting is going to take place. Kakashi resigned his emotions and asked for more essential info. What did he look like? Did you recognize him? Erebo shook his head. He wore a cloak and a hood, and what little I saw of him, he was probably hinged, way too generic. Erebo let his hand fall off Kakashi's shoulder, leaned back against the tree, and closed his eyes. Thanks, Captain. I'm glad you came. He then slumped back into the tree. Kakashi put his head down momentarily, got up, and turned towards Sasuke. Gather the others. We need to have a discussion. Team 7 met back up in the clearing. So what happened? Asked Anko. They were attacked by a spy for Orochimaru. They had a lead about a potential meeting, and they ran into him, explained Kakashi. Anko's heart skipped a beat at the mention of her former sensei, a mix of fear and nostalgia washing over her. Did they get anything on him? Any lead on his identity? Asked Anko. His appearance was probably hinged. The only identifier was a technique he used when his hands would glow green, allowing him to cut internal organs, explained Kakashi. Anko thought for a moment. Sounds like the chakra scalpel, but only advanced medic ninjas use that technique, and I've never heard of it being used for combat. I thought so too, agreed Kakashi. So what do we do now? Questioned Sasuke. Anko's frustration was perceivable, her voice trembling with anger and concern. I would say go after the bastard, but if he was smart, he would have doubled back to the village to protect his identity. I doubt we could find him. Kakashi spoke up. Actually, Ebero said he went north toward the presumed meeting area. This attack could not have happened no more than an hour ago, and there is still a chance he is still there. We have to go after him, Anko said, determined. Kakashi prepared himself for the backlash of his next suggestion. I think I should go by myself. What the hell do you mean by that? You can't expect us to just sit this out, Anko said, irritation in her voice. This is more than just your standard missing nin. We are talking about a spy who was able to take down an Anbu squad like it was nothing. We can't take the risk, Kakashi said, defending his reasoning. Was all that talk about us being a team just junk? As soon as things get a little tough, you have to go lone wolf on us. I'll be damned if I sit this one out, and you, of all people, know that I can't let this chance pass me by. This is the biggest lead we had on him for over a decade, yelled Anko. Yeah, Sensei, we are a team. We can't just let you go alone, Naruto exclaimed. Kakashi looked down in shame, realizing that his suggestion contradicted his philosophy. I'm sorry. It's just that I don't want to lead you guys into danger when I'm not sure I can keep you all safe. Anko walked over and placed a hand on Kakashi's shoulder. You don't give us enough credit. We worked hard for months to get these kids ready for anything. You've seen how hard they have worked and how much they have grown. Believe in them. Yeah, Sensei, let's go kick this guy's ass, Naruto said, hyped up from Anko's speech. We won't let you go alone. We're a team, said Sakura. We haven't trained this hard to be left out as soon as things get tough, declared Sasuke. Kakashi felt proud upon seeing the resolve in his team slash. Okay, let's go. Just be careful. Team 7 leaped through the trees northward, looking for the meeting place. Something caught Anko's eye. There's a clearing over there. They rushed over to the clearing, and when it came into view, they saw a cloaked figure standing in the middle. Each member swiftly ascended their chosen tree, positioning themselves for the impending encounter. Anko and Kakashi, their eyes locked, began a silent conversation, their hands moving in a blur of signs, strategizing their next move. Engage. Hostile. Immediately, Anko signed, her eagerness to confront the spy palpable in the air. Kakashi shook his head and signed back. Risky, observe, wait, follow. Frustration came over Anko, and she signed aggressively. Opportunity, ignore risk. Their planning was cut short as 5 figures jumped into the clearing before the cloaked man. The shortest figure, a woman with a vibrant mane of dark pink hair, stood out among the group. Her attire, a black shirt under a tan tunic, was adorned with a symbol on the hem. She wore black arm warmers, traditional black shinobi sandals with calf-length leg warmers covered by bandages, and a purple, rope-like belt tied in an inverted bow around her waist. A black hat with pipe-like stripes and bandaged sides completed her ensemble, keeping her bangs in place while the rest cascaded down her back. Next to her was a man with light blue hair, with one of his bangs covering his eye. He wore a black shirt under brown tunics with long sleeves that bore a symbol on the hem and black skin-tight shorts. They wore black arm warmers, traditional black shinobi sandals with calf-length leg warmers covered by bandages, and a purple, rope-like belt tied in an inverted bow around their waists. The tallest member was a large and imposing young man, towering over the rest of his teammates. He had fair skin and narrowed, slanted orange eyes. He had 3 tufts of orange hair on his head, a mohawk running down the middle, and 2 similarly styled tufts at the side. His attire was a beige-colored, sleeveless tunic and a pair of black. He wore black arm warmers and a necklace with red circular pieces separating long, metallic pieces. He wore traditional black shinobi sandals, mid-calf leg warmers covered by bandages, and a purple rope-like belt tied in an inverted bow around his waist. Next to him was a dark-skinned shinobi with black, shaggy hair tied into a ponytail and black eyes. He was the second tallest member of the team. He also had 6 arms and was the only one wearing a shinobi headband with a musical note on it. His attire was a black, sleeveless shirt under a sleeveless gray tunic and black skin-tight shorts. He wore black arm warmers, traditional black shinobi sandals with calf-length leg warmers covered by bandages, and a purple, rope-like belt tied in an inverted bow around his waist. In front was a pale-skinned man with vivid green eyes, angular facial features, 2 scarlet dots on his forehead, and shoulder-length white hair. He wore a light lavender, loose-fitting, long-sleeved, zip-up shirt, black pants cut off around mid-calf, bandages wrapped around his ankles, traditional shinobi sandals, and a purple, rope-like belt tied in an inverted bow around his waist. He also wore 2 red, tube-like hair ornaments, one on either side of his head, securing 2 locks of his silvery white hair. Kakashi and Anko's eyes widened in recognition when their gazes crossed over the 6-armed ninja in the clearing. The cloaked man spoke first. "You're late." The cloaked man's voice carried a hint of impatience. "I risk being discovered with each passing moment I'm out of the village." His words hung in the air, the tension palpable. "Sorry, it's not exactly a leisurely walk to get here," said Tayuya. "Quiet," Kimimaro said as he glared at Tayuya. She shrunk in on herself and looked at the ground. He turned back toward the cloaked figure. "Give us the dossier, and we'll be on our way." Naruto sat silently in the tree. He didn't really know what was happening, but he got a terrible feeling from everyone in the clearing. Naruto then felt something crawl on his arm, and he looked to see a spider. He panicked and quickly smacked it against the tree. He looked around, worried he made too much noise, but he didn't even get the attention of his teammates. At the same time, Kadamaru flinched, face twitching in the clearing. He opened his eyes. Kadamaru looked at the cloaked man. "You know, for being the boss's second in command, I would have thought you would have made sure there weren't any bugs following you." Kadamaru produced a golden metallic material from his pores, molded it into a kunai, and threw it at Naruto. This caught Naruto off guard as he moved out of the way, but he lost his footing when he fell off the tree and into the clearing. All the figures in the clearing turned toward Naruto. Anko dropped down next to Naruto, afraid to leave him alone in the open, with the rest of the team following suit. Kakashi and Anko stood in front of the genin. Kimimaro gave the spy a bored look. "You should leave. If your identity is discovered, our master's plan may fall through. Just their knowing of your existence puts that at risk. I don't know what makes you think you have superiority over me. You may be a vessel, but that doesn't mean I can't put you in your place if you overstep your authority," the spy retorted. The two shared a tense silence. "I would be interested to see how that would go," Kimimaro said, his face giving away no emotion. The figure smiled lightly under the hood, and body flickered away from the clearing. During this time, Team 7 made a plan. "Do you recognize any of them?" asked Kakashi. Anko shook her head. "I've never seen them in any bingo book, but that is definitely the six-armed guy who was getting Orkamara's test subjects. Also, that white-haired guy has markings of the Kagaya clan." Tayuya was the first to speak to them. "I don't know who you are, but you assholes stumbled upon the wrong place." Kakashi then whispered instructions back to the genin. "We shouldn't try to engage with them. Our main priority should be returning to the village with the information we gathered." "Oh, my signal. Go the way we came and return to the village." Kimimaro's eye wandered over at Sasuke and spotted the Uchiha symbol on his clothing. He then spoke. "Interesting. Our master may forgive this early engagement if we manage to kill the copy ninja and take the Uchiha." Kimimaro's statement further fueled Kakashi's decision for them to run. "Go!" yelled Kakashi. Anko threw a smoke bomb down. "Don't let them escape. Kakashi is a formidable opponent. I'll take him. The rest of you, handle the others." Kimimaro's voice boomed with urgency. Kimimaro then began after his quarry with the rest of the Sound 5. Sasuke was filled with anger at himself. This was his chance to prove himself. But when the white-haired man's piercing gaze fell on him, a wave of unease washed over him, threatening to shatter his confidence. "Why are we running?" asked Sasuke. "We have no reason to engage them." Kakashi's voice was firm, but the tension in the air was palpable. "Who were those people?" inquired Sakura. "Orochimaru's henchmen, high-ranking ones at that. I think I saw curse marks on a few of them. Trust me, guys, my entire being wanted to stay back and fight them, but we can't risk it," said Anko, frustration layering her voice. Without warning, a volley of golden kunai whizzed through the air, their metallic gleam cutting through the dense woods. The group was caught off guard and forced to scatter in different directions to avoid the deadly projectiles. Behind them, the Sound 5 were gaining on them. Kakashi looked over at Naruto. "Naruto, we need a diversion. Create shadow clones, transform them into us, and send them in different directions. We have to split up. If we stay together, they'll track us down easily," Kakashi strategized. "Are you sure that's a good idea?" asked Anko. Kakashi felt anxious and conflicted about whether this was the right decision. "I don't like it, but I believe in you. Focus on retreating, keeping your wits, and staying safe." Everyone nodded, and Naruto created dozens of shadow clones, transformed into Team 7, and began to spread out in all directions. Kimimaro slowed down and analyzed the clones. They split into two groups. The woman and the blonde went east. Tayuya and Kidamaro, "I need you to follow them." Jirobo, "Focus on capturing the Uchiha and Sakon. I trust you will dispatch the girl and assist me with Hatake." The Sound 5 followed their leader's orders and went after their targets. After several minutes of fleeing, Naruto and Anko dodged another flurry of projectiles from Kidamaru. "Damn it, turn around and fight us," "You leaf trash," yelled Tayuya. Anko considered their current situation. While she and Naruto could fight these two, they had to return to the village and meet the rest of their team. She turned toward Naruto. "Naruto, do the shadow clone thing again." He nodded and put his hands on the ram seal. Shadow clone jutsu. Naruto created 20 clones, transformed half of them into Anko, and had them speed in various directions. "Good job," Anko praised as she and Naruto changed directions and blended in with the clones. Just the melody of a flute hit their ears. Anko's vision began to distort. She immediately recognized the genjutsu and disrupted her chakra. The vision faded, but she looked over and did not see Naruto. She looked down to see him careening toward the ground. Anko took action immediately and hopped off the tree at full speed, catching Naruto before he hit the ground. Naruto began to scream, still trapped in the genjutsu. Anko channeled chakra into Naruto, disrupting the genjutsu. "What happened?" said Naruto, still dazed. "Genjutsu. Whatever that noise was, probably the source." "Good observation," Tayuya said as she landed on a branch above. At the same time, Kadamaru landed on another near her. "That was nice scurrying, but genjutsu doesn't affect shadow clones, so it was easy to single you out." Kadamaru spoke. "What will the rats do now that they are cornered?" Anko looked at Naruto, and he had a look of determination in his eyes and nodded. She looked back toward the sound ninja and smiled. "Well, it looks like we have to fight. We wanted to save you the trouble, but it seems you guys need to have your asses kicked. Tough talk from a bunch of bugs. We'll see if you can put your money where your mouth is." Tayuya bit her thumb, ran through hand signs, and placed her hand down, summoning jutsu. After the smoke cleared, 3 giant ogre-like creatures stood in front of her. "Whoa, bringing out the doki this early. You must be pissed." "I guess I'll follow suit," Kadamaru said as he bit his thumb as well and weaved through hand signs. Summoning jutsu. A giant spider then formed. Kadamaru spit on his hands and began to form it into a giant spider web that went across the treetops. Anko cursed under her breath. It was just their luck. Not only 2 summoners, but they also had unique abilities. Looks like she couldn't hold back here. She picked her finger on one of her seven and performed. Summoning jutsu. A giant blue snake appeared with Anko standing on top of its head. Naruto looked in awe at Anko. Tayuya's smile grew wide. "This is even better. We get to fight the failure the master talked about." "Failure?" Anko said, trying to hold back her emotions. "You're the one who couldn't even activate your curse mark. I doubt you'll be much of a challenge," commented Kadamaru. Kadamaru and Tayuya then activated their level 1 curse mark. Kadamaru's spread across his body in black, entangling lines, while Tayuya's went across in straight lines in a jagged zigzag pattern. "Well, unlike you, I don't need someone else's power to be strong. I have enough power here between myself and this future Hokage," Anko said. Then she looked at Naruto and nodded. He took that as a signal, threw a shuriken, and performed the Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu. Hundreds of shurikens flew at Tayuya and Kadamaru. Tayuya played a melody and ordered the doki to defect the shurikens. Kadamaru formed webs in the path of the shuriken. They were unable to cut the webs and stopped in their path. Anko took this chance to quickly strategize with Naruto. She ordered her snake to get down next to Naruto and began talking. "I'll take the spider guy, and you take the flute girl. My advice is to get that flute away from her. It seems that most of her abilities are based on it." Naruto nodded. "Got it. Also, take these." Anko put something in Naruto's hand, and he looked at it. "Thanks, be careful, sis. I should be telling you that." Anko hopped on her snake and began to race toward Kadamaru. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto created 20 shadow clones and had them charge at the doki. "If all you can do is create clones, then that won't be enough," mocked Tayuya. The clones then began to get into formations. 5 clones stayed back, and 3 other groups of 5 went toward the doki. Tayuya was curious about the strange formation, but she wrote it off as she played a song on her flute, and the doki then went toward the clones. "Now!" yelled the group in the back. In the first 3 groups, 1 clone crouched down, and another clone jumped off the back of it, leaping in the air and clasping their hands together. The 3 clones behind then made hand signs and performed Wind-style Great Breakthrough. This launched the clone forward rapidly toward the doki. The clones then yelled Gale-style Palm Strike. One of the doki was sent flying, while the other 2 were thrown off balance. Seeing a lapse in Tayuya's defense, the group in the back moved. 3 clones threw shuriken and performed the shuriken shadow clone jutsu, creating hundreds of shuriken. The other 2 then performed wind-style great breakthrough. This sent all of the shuriken flying toward Tayuya. "Damn it," Tayuya said as she saw the amount of shuriken. Her doki wouldn't get to her fast enough to block the shuriken. Tayuya ran to a nearby tree, dodging projectiles. She managed to make her way and land on the back of a tree trunk. She had various cuts, and some of her hair was cut. "You bastard," Tayuya shouted. She jumped to a nearby branch and played a song to get her doki in position to attack. But when she looked at the surrounding area where Naruto was, he was nowhere to be found. The fucker must have hidden during the commotion. She looked around, waiting for Naruto to reappear. Just then, from above, multiple Narutos began to descend upon her. Tayuya played the melody and had her doki attack the clones while she relocated to a different branch. She interrupted her song and cast a jinjutsu with her flute to discover the real Naruto. The clones dispersed, and one of the Naruto began to scream and fall onto the branch. Tayuya grinned. "Nice try, punk, but you couldn't hope to beat me if you're shit at jinjutsu." She then commanded one of the doki to crush the down Naruto. Right before the club hit him, Naruto smiled and exploded in smoke. "What the fuck?" Tayuya said in surprise. She then quickly turned around to see Naruto flying toward her, reaching toward her flute. She managed to pull it back in time before he could grab it. Frustration came across Naruto's face, but he then turned his body, began to channel wind chakra around his leg, and aimed a kick at Tayuya's chest. Gale style, cyclone kick. When Naruto's foot made contact, Tayuya flew backward, and a cyclone of wind sent her careening backward into a tree. When she hit the tree and began to fall, she quickly played a melody, and one of the doki caught her and landed on a branch. "What the hell? Why didn't that work?" Naruto grinned. "If you're asking why that didn't work," he pulled a piece of cotton out of his ear. "I need to thank sis for giving me these." He then gave Tayuya a determined look. "Just wait. Next time, I will get that flute." Anko stood on the head of her summon, staring down Kadamaru. "This is quite an interesting matchup, snake versus the spider. I wonder who will come out on top." "Do you always talk this much before you fight?" asked Anko. "It is only natural to banter with your opponent before a match. I hope you make this game interesting. My assignments of late have been less than invigorating." Anko tightened her fist. "Kidnapping families to be test subjects is not exciting enough for you." Kadamaru shrugged. "It's just a part of working under the boss." He smirked. "I'm sure you know a lot about that." Tired of the conversation, Anko made the first move, launching several seven. Kadamaru and his spider moved across the web-L. He then created more weapons and began throwing golden kunai. Anko's summon moved away from the projectiles. "Rush him. He's a long-range fighter," ordered Anko. Her summon followed her orders and began to extend upwards toward the web. Kadamaru was prepared for her to get close. He created a kunai and slit the stomach of his spider summon open. Anko shivered as she saw hundreds of small spiders fall from the spider's belly. She quickly hopped off of the snake and fell back towards the ground. The snake was unable to change momentum. She was caught in the swarm, and the spiders began to bite into it. The snake hissed in pain before it desummoned itself as Anko continued falling. She looked at the massive wave of spiders approaching her. She needed a massive jutsu and went through hand signs. Fire release, great flame jutsu. Anko expelled flames that widened as they went further. This decimated the small spiders and engulfed the spider summon, dismissing it. Once the flames cleared, Kadamaru was nowhere to be seen, but his voice began to echo through the forest. "I should have guessed that a leaf shinobi would have fire jutsu, and such a powerful one. I should expect no less from the master's former student. I can't hold back in this scenario." Kadamaru's body underwent a grotesque metamorphosis. His skin turned a deep, ominous red, and his once human eyes now glowed a piercing yellow. His teeth and nails elongated into sharp points, and his hair grew long and gray. Horns sprouted from his forehead, shoulders, and elbows, and his mouth stretched wider. He removed his headband, exposing a third eye. With a calculated precision, he carefully produced a sticky gold web from his mouth, creating a bow. He maneuvered himself using his webs and all 8 limbs to aim and load the bow. He used his third eye to locate Anko's chakra. He saw she was hiding behind a tree. He produced an arrow and began to shape its head into a drill. Anko leaned against a tree. This guy was a long-range fighter through and through. She would try to sense his chakra to find his location, but with all of the residue chakra from her technique and the summons, that would be nearly impossible. As she thought of possible strategies, Anko heard a whooshing sound and quickly ducked. The tree behind split open as an arrow cut the top of her shoulder. Realizing that hiding was futile, Anko swiftly analyzed the situation. She looked at the hole the arrow had made in the tree, which gave her a rough idea of Kadamaru's location. With a plan forming in her mind, she dashed out from behind the tree, zigzagging towards where she thought the arrow had been fired. Anko focused her chakra to enhance her hearing, knowing that her visual reaction time might not be enough to dodge the arrows. Anko heard an arrow as she turned. As the arrow scraped across her stomach, Kadamaru began to load another arrow. This was not ideal. She was so direct with her strategy. It gave him opportunities, but didn't give him time to plan. Anko threw a smoke bomb, and Kitamaru focused his third eye. He saw her chakra split as two Ankos ran out from opposite sides of the smoke. Kadamaru's heart raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. He needed to end this quickly, or he would be forced into close combat, a scenario he was ill-prepared for. Determination etched on his face. He attached a string to his next arrow and aimed it at the Anko to his right. With a swift motion, he fired. As she began to dodge, he deftly manipulated the string, altering the arrow's trajectory. It struck her square in the chest, and she vanished in a puff of smoke. Kadamaru resolved himself. This fight would be over instantly as long as he could do that again. He repeated the same process, attached a string to the end of his arrow, and fired at Anko. His aim wasn't as true, but it got her in her upper thigh. Kadamaru celebrated internally. The fight was his. She stood no chance of dodging his next attack if she lost her mobility. His revelry ended when the other Anko burst into smoke. Fire release. Dragon fire technique. He only had a moment to process as the ground beneath the tree he was in exploded, and a fire dragon came toward him from below. Due to his positioning in the tree, he couldn't properly maneuver, and the technique hit him dead on. He dropped his bow, and his webs burned away as he fell from the tree. He rolled around on the ground, expelling his sticky web from his skin to put out the fire. After a moment, Kitamaru was on his hands and knees, burns covering most of his body, with his right side taking most of the damage. He began to get up, but out of the ground beneath him came Anko, who pinned down his arms and held a kunai to his throat. "Don't move. Tell me everything you know, or I'll kill you." Kadamaru laughed through his immense pain. "Killing me now will be a mercy compared to what Orochimaru will do to me," he said as he jerked his head forward, forcing the kunai to pierce his throat. He stared up at Anko as he began to choke and bleed out. Anko sighed and got up. She looked down at him as he transformed from his curse-marked state. He couldn't have been much older than her genin. Anko squeezed her fist. This could have been her if her curse mark had been successful. Visions of her former teacher incited tears of rage and regret to stream down her cheeks. She then heard Naruto's battle not far away. She cleared her thoughts and went to assist her student. Sasuke dodged another large tree branch being thrown at him as he was forced further away from his teammates. He needed to find a way to lose this guy. His thoughts were interrupted when another large branch interrupted his path, forcing him to land on the ground. Jirobo landed in front of him. "To think of our luck. Master Orochimaru has expressed interest in you. He'll be pleased if we capture you, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I have myself a snack first." Jirobo ran through hand signs. Earth release barrier. Earth prison dome of magnificent nothingness. A rock dome encased Sasuke. He analyzed the wall briefly. It looked like a normal earth barrier. Sasuke then placed his hands on the dome and used lighting release. Depth charge. Sasuke began channeling the lighting chakra through the dome. The dome began to break apart as chunks started to fall off. There was a brief opening where Sasuke could see the light coming through, but the dome quickly began repairing itself. Sasuke stopped his jutsu, and suddenly, he felt a portion of his chakra drain away. Sasuke wondered why he felt he had used a third of his. He looked around. The dome was fully repaired as if nothing had happened. He heard Jirobo laughing outside the dome. "You're probably wondering why your little lighting attack didn't work. Chakra continuously circulates throughout the dome, reinforcing and allowing it to repair itself. Thanks for the chakra. I didn't expect a kid like you to have this much. Don't worry. I won't kill you, but we will be here for a while. So you might as well sit and accept your fate. Sasuke started to analyze the situation. The dome was even resistant to lightning attacks, and it felt like he was drained of chakra. Sasuke looked around the dome. He needed to attack at the point where the chakra was less concentrated. He then began to use depth charge to send tiny shocks to different points in the wall. I told you it's useless. You're just going to get weaker faster. I recommend you come to terms with your fate. I don't want to overdrain your chakra. Inside, Sasuke hit a point on the side of the dome. A more significant chunk of earth fell off before reforming more slowly than the other point he hit. That must be it, thought Sasuke. He then put his left hand in the ram hand sign and channeled lightning chakra to his right. Lighting release bullet. Powerful breath. Sasuke thrust his fist forward, sending a powerful bolt of lightning at the weakest spot in the dome. Jirobo, from outside, felt the dome shake as he saw lightning burst from the other side of the dome. He then took his hand off of the dome and jumped to the other side. Landing in front of the new hole, Sasuke emerged from the dome. Impressive. No one has been able to find the weakness of my technique that quickly before. I can see why our master is now interested in you. Sasuke smirked. Now that you're out of tricks, get out of my way so I can get back to my team. Jirobo chuckled. You are sorely mistaken if you think our fight is over. The mark on the side of his neck expanded as it stretched out into chain triangle-like markings over his body. This a taste of what Lord Orochimaru will have in store for you. Jirobo then jumped towards Sasuke. Sasuke dodged backward and saw the earth split open where Jirobo landed. Jirobo charged, trying to perform a shoulder tackle. Sasuke dodged to the side at the last moment. Jirobo took the rest of his momentum and ran first into a tree, toppling it. Sasuke observed the destructive power of Jirobo's taijutsu. One hit could be severe. Sasuke threw shuriken wrapped in ninja wire and angled them to wrap the wire around Jirobo's. Sasuke held the end of the ninja wire and prepared to channel lightning chakra, but Jirobo flexed and tore the ninja wire like paper. He then moved forward and began to engage in taijutsu with Sasuke. Despite his size, Jirobo's strikes were fast and precise, and Sasuke used his full attention to dodge. He had to jump to avoid the crumbling earth when Jirobo stomped the ground. Jirobo took advantage of this vulnerability and thrust a palm strike at Sasuke. Sasuke managed to get both of his arms up to block, but the force of the strike sent Sasuke tumbling backward. When he recovered, Jirobo was on top of him again. Sasuke reached into his pouch and threw a flash bomb, which blinded Jirobo and allowed Sasuke to get some distance. Sasuke then went through the hand sign and performed Fire Release Dragon Fire Technique. The fire dragon went toward Jirobo. Jirobo quickly placed his hands on the ground and used Earth Release Shore Return, forming a wall of earth in front of the dragon. At the last second, Sasuke made the dragon alter its path and directed it around the wall, hitting Jirobo. There was an explosion of flames. Sasuke waited a few moments and then heard the ground rumbling as the ground behind the earth wall began to rise until a massive boulder was lifted into the air. Jirobo was covered in burns, but managed to avoid critical damage by coating himself in the earth. Nice move, kid. But food isn't supposed to fight back. He then threw the chunk of earth at Sasuke. Earth Release. Earth Mausoleum Dumpling. Sasuke's eyes widened. Didn't this guy say we wanted me alive? He dashed towards the side and narrowly avoided the boulder, but the impact knocked him away deeper into the forest. Jirobo smiled to himself. This kid was something else. He went to the last place he saw Sasuke, but he wasn't anywhere to be seen. Damn it. Don't tell me she ran. Kimimaro might kill me. 5 smoke bombs dropped from above, making a circle around Jirobo's. Jirobo stood in the center, looking around to see what direction he was coming from. The smoke began to disperse, and he still didn't see Sasuke. He looked up to see Sasuke above the lighting chakra surrounding his fist. Lighting Release Bullet. Powerful Breath. Sasuke sent a powerful bolt of lightning from above that directly hit Jirobo. He heard his scream and landed a distance from the impact site. Once the dust cleared, he saw Jirobo on the ground, his features twitching angrily. How dare you? I can't believe I have to use this on a kid like you. Jirobo's curse mark began to glow. Sakura and Kakashi kept dashing through the forest after being separated from Sasuke. Kakashi noticed that they had made no distance on them, and their 2 pursuers were actually gaining. Realizing that they couldn't avoid conflict, Kakashi turned toward Sakura and said, "Sakura, I need you to lead away the one with the blue hair." "Why, Sensei? Can we both fight them together?" Kakashi shook his head. "The one with the markings is most likely the leader. He also has markings of a clan with a very dangerous Kekkei Genkai. If he has access to it, he will be an extremely dangerous opponent. I can't risk you having you near me when I fight him." Sakura nodded. "Okay, Sensei, be careful. Don't wander too far. I'm going to track you down after I finish him." "Got it." Sakura changed her path and began leaping away from Kakashi. Sakon looked at Kimimaro. "Should I follow her?" "Go ahead. Just finish her quickly," said Kimimaro. Sakon began to leap after her. Sakura saw a small clearing and touched down, preparing for a fight. Sakon landed across from her smug expression on his face. Sakura charged, extending 2 fingers. Sakon's eyes followed them, anticipating a technique. In a sudden twist, Sakura circled her fingers. Sakon's vision blurred, ensnared by the drunken sight technique. A kunai was hurled, and Sakon evaded, his balance disrupted. Seizing the moment, Sakura aimed a strike at his unguarded side. Her punch never landed as her arm was struck. Sakon recovered as he unleashed a powerful front kick, driving it into Sakura's chest with brutal force. The impact was staggering, knocking the wind out of Sakura as she was sent hurtling backward, her body skimming across the ground. She pushed herself up, holding her chest and coughing, trying to get the air back into her lungs. That was the hardest she had been hit in her entire life. Sakura looked over to Sakon, who hadn't moved and was grinning at her. "Oh, how I love the look of fear people get when they realize they are sorely outmatched. What will you do now? Run, keep fighting, or just curl up in a ball and give up? Please don't do that last one. It's not satisfying when my opponents give up." Sakura's eyes widened with fear. She was sure he was off guard. The Genjutsu connected, but it was as if another person had hit her before she made contact. Was he just that fast? If he was, her chances of victory seemed slim. Sakura shook her head, dismissing her initial thoughts. If someone was moving at such a speed, she would have caught a glimpse of an afterimage, but Sakon didn't move at all. Sakura stood and turned toward Sakon, eyes full of determination. "Ooh, a feisty one. This should be interesting." Her heart pounding, Sakura remained silent. This man's abilities, whatever they were, seemed to activate whenever she drew near. Sakura only knew one other earth jutsu and earth flow spears, which could be used at a distance. Still, it could be easily dodged if she didn't use the technique at the right moment. Sakura bit her lip. Strategy wouldn't matter until she figured out what this guy had done earlier. Sakon, growing impatient with Sakura's standing, rushed forward. Sakura managed to move back to dodge Sakon's blow, but she fell as she felt herself get struck in the ankle. Sakon put his foot up, about to stomp on her chest. Sakura molded the earth beneath her and sank into it, leaving Sakon to create a small crater. "Crafty," commented Sakon. "You shouldn't waste time." Sakon looked back. "Oh, shut up. Let me have fun. The girl is no threat." Sakura had to focus on executing her next move. She had improved her mastery of the hiding like a mole technique and extended her range. She had used it in spars before, and she could only hope it would work now. If it did, she could get a hit on his blind spot. Sakon saw the earth split open before him and prepared to block the incoming strike. When it didn't come, he looked backward to see another hole behind him. "Thank you, brother." Sakura stood in shock as her hand was caught by another Sakon coming out of his back. Another arm reached out and wrapped its hand around Sakura's neck, suffocating her. She quickly pulled a kunai and tried to stab the arm with her free hand. The hand let go, and the arm disappeared into Sakon's body. As Sakura was let go, she rolled away, creating distance. Sakura got up on shaky legs. She looked at Sakon as she saw another head sprout beside his own. "You can create more limbs?" Sakura said as he ran a hand over her bruised neck. "No, this is my brother Yukon. He can meld into my body. He comes out when I need some help fighting." Yukon turned toward his brother. "As I told you before, finish this girl quickly. We must return to Kimimaro. He may need help with Hatake." Sakon scoffed, but he relented. "Fine, I guess you have a point. I'm sorry, girly. It looks like we need to end our fun early." Sakura smiled as she got the info she needed. She darted forward, her hand diving into her tool pouch, retrieving a handful of material. She took a deep breath and exhaled it towards Sakon and Yukon, who were left bewildered. In an instant, she descended into the earth, vanishing from their sight. As Sakon stood in a daze, a shower of white petals descended around them, accompanied by a gentle, alluring scent. Yukon's voice dripped with frustration. "I warned you to put an end to that girl. Now she's slipped away with nothing more than a mere party trick." "Oh, can it? She couldn't have gone far." Sakon suddenly began coughing into his hand, and when he looked, he saw it covered in blood. Yukon followed suit and started coughing. Weakness overtook the brothers as their temperatures rose, their bodies trembling with an unknown force. "I can't believe it. She poisoned us," Sakon said in disbelief. "You fool, this is why you don't play in battle. We must get to Kitamaro quickly to see if he has an antidote." Distracted, the brothers didn't notice as the spikes started to come from the ground. Earth release earth flow spears. Sakon barely managed to prevent him and his brother from getting fully impaled, but Sakon had to break off a spike in his arm and thigh. "Damn it, that bitch." Sakon looked at his hand to see no blood and that all of the symptoms of the poison were gone. He looked over at the ground to see shredded pieces of paper on the ground where they stood. "Genjutsu," snarled Sakon, his anger palpable. "Come out here." Sakura emerged from the ground. "I'm glad you told me you had separate bodies. That means you both have separate senses." Sakura put her fist into her hand. "So, will you curl into a ball now, or keep fighting?" "Oh, just watch," Sakon said as his curse mark began to glow orange. Kakashi stood in front of Kimimaro with his revealed Sharingan. "Kagaya, huh? I heard your clan was wiped out by the mist years ago." Kimimaro's curse mark began to spread across his entire body in contorting and parallel lines. Kimimaro kept a straight expression. "Do not stall, Hataki. I wish to fight you as soon as possible. My master will be pleased with me when I defeat you." Kimimaro reached into his upper arm and pulled out his bone, forming a sword. Dance of the Camellia. Kimimaro, in a swift motion, rushed forward in the dimly lit forest clearing, his strikes aimed at Kakashi's vulnerable spots. Kakashi prepared to dodge and look for an opening. Kimimaro's strikes were blazing fast. He studied Kimimaro's movements. Each stab was aimed at a slightly different part of Kakashi, and he also changed the angle of the strikes each time. Any other fighter would have no hope of deflecting his attacks unless they had a Sharingan. Kakashi took his kunai and parried one of Kimimaro's blows. This made Kimimaro show his first emotion other than indifference, as he had a surprised look on his face, his mouth slightly open and his eyebrows raised. Kakashi took his opening and slammed his kunai into Kimimaro's chest, only for the kunai to pierce the skin and then stop, sending force up Kakashi's arm, causing him pain. He quickly stepped back, dodging a fatal blow but getting sliced across his thigh. "Damn, it looks like he can manipulate his bones to guard his vitals," thought Kakashi. Kimimaro looked at Kakashi. "So that's the power of the Sharingan. No one has ever even survived my Camellia dance, much less deflected. Yes, my master will be very pleased. I shall take your eye to him." Kimimaro then put his bone sword back into his arm. Spikes of bone then began to protrude from his body in various points. Dance of the Willow. Kakashi's mind raced as he assessed the situation. Engaging in close combat with an opponent who could transform his entire body into a weapon was dangerous. Kakashi's lack of long-range jutsu that could inflict significant damage was a glaring weakness. The longer this fight dragged on, the more chakra Kakashi was losing. The urgency of the situation was clear. He needed to end this quickly, and the only way to do that was to fight up close. Kimimaro began to engage Kakashi. In his new dance, he dashed forward and thrust the two bones in his palms at Kakashi. Kakashi managed to block one of them, but the other sliced the top of his shoulder. At times like this, he wished he still had a sword. Kimimaro then spun. Kakashi had to step back to avoid the remaining spikes on his body. Kimimaro continued to charge at Kakashi, giving him no room to breathe. Kakashi waited for an opening. The jutsus he had to use were chakra intensive, and he couldn't afford to miss. He saw his chance when Kimimaro pushed the spikes in his arms forward. Kakashi shot forward and began forming a chakra spiral in his right palm. Rasengan. Kakashi was cut across his torso and upper arm. A bone was lodged in his thigh, but he hit his target when he slammed the Rasengan into Kimimaro's stomach. When it made contact, Kimimaro's eyes widened. He coughed up blood and was sent sprawling backward, but he managed to land. dragging his knee across the ground. Kakashi gave no quarter as he unleashed his most deadly jutsu, Raikiri, lightning cutter. Kakashi held condensed lightning in his palm, propelling forward at inhuman speed. Kimimaro, caught off guard, looked up only to see a flash of blue light as Kakashi plunged the Raikiri through his chest. Despite his near chakra exhaustion and the imminent threat of bleeding out, Kakashi pushed aside his own pain and worry. His unwavering loyalty and concern for his comrades drove him forward. He needed to find the rest of his team. Suddenly, he felt a surge of chakra emanating from the direction of Kimimaro's body. He looked over to see Kimimaro's skin begin to darken. As he got up, the hole in his chest began to heal. Kakashi realized that this fight wasn't close to over rethinking his strategy. He didn't have enough chakra to unleash that combo again, and he doubted it would be enough to keep Kimimaro done. It also seemed he had a few minutes until he fully recovered. Making a decision, Kakashi dabbed a finger in one of his wounds and went through hand signs, summoning jutsu. A small, pug-like dog appeared with brown fur, dark brown snout, and ears. Pakken looked at the state of Kakashi and said, "Why can't you ever summon me into good situations? I need you to lead me to my student. She should be fighting nearby." Pakken began to sniff the air and looked west. "She should be this way. Can you still move?" Kakashi groaned and got up. "Let's go." Things had gotten out of hand for Sakura, though. Since activating the second stage, the brothers' teamwork had kept her on the back foot, preventing her from attacking. She dodged a kick, but was nailed in the side by a punch, sending her sprawling. She stood prepared to keep fighting. "Where's the tough talk now, girlie?" She breathed heavily, trying to come up with a strategy. Suddenly, a nearly fresh Kakashi landed beside her, surprising the brothers. "Yo, I don't think it's fair that you keep harassing my student." "Where is Kimimaro?" asked Sakan. "In clearing a few minutes that way, you might want to check on him." "You're lying," accused Yukon. "Do you want to test that?" Kakashi said as he narrowed his eyes. Yukon looked at Sakan. "This is why I told you to finish this sooner. We should check on him to confirm if he really beat Kimimaro. I doubt we'll have much of a chance." The brothers returned to Thier's stage 1 form, and Yukon melded back into Sakan as they headed toward Kimimaro. After the brothers left, Sakura exhaled the breath she was holding. "Thank you, Sensei. I don't know what I should have done," Sakura said in relief. The hinge hiding Kakashi's injuries dispelled, and he dropped to one knee. Sakura gasped at her teacher's state. "What happened?" "I disabled their leader, but he's regenerating now. They'll find out soon. We have to retreat." "What about the others?" "I sent my summon to find Sasuke and lead him to us, and I trust Anko to keep Naruto safe. Come on, we have to move." Sakura hesitated. "Sensei, we should treat your wounds first." "We'll do that when we get somewhere safe. We have to leave before they return." Kakashi jumped into the trees, and Sakura followed. Sakan arrived to see a de-transformed Kimimaro standing, looking up at the sky. He landed. "Kimimaro, what happened?" Kimimaro looked over at him. "I failed. No one had ever broken through my defense before, and he did it twice in a row." Kimimaro's voice was filled with shame and disbelief, his eyes downcast. "Did you take care of the girl?" "No, we had her on the ropes, but Kakashi showed up and told us you were defeated." "Why did you not fight?" "He must have been heavily injured. He must have been hinged. He looked fresh," said Sakan without his usual confidence, worried he would be punished for such a crucial mistake. "While I take offense that you would believe that I would leave my opponents fresh, we have more pressing matters. I need you to find Jirobo and help him secure the Uchiha. Our connection with Kadamaru has faded. I'll go and assist them." The urgency in Kimimaro's voice was clear. "Shouldn't we hunt down the girl and Kakashi?" asked Sakan. "Kakashi is heavily injured. They can't move far. We can track them down later." "Okay, I got it." Sakan hurried off to find Jirobo with a determined stride. At the same time, Kimimaro went to check on the status of the other members of his team. Anko found herself in a whirlwind of events, the tide turning against her and Naruto with alarming speed. One moment, they were on the verge of triumph over the flute girl, and the next, they were trapped, their backs against a menacing ravine. Anko looked down at her wounded leg. She and Naruto had no hope of fighting this bone dude at close range and had the cuts to prove it. Naruto stood next to her, breathing heavily, covered in cuts. Kimimaro approached slowly, bone spikes protruding from his body. Anko winced. There was no way they could fight this guy. She looked back at the ravine behind them, judging the drop. She turned toward Naruto. Hey, can you swim? Anko asked, her voice filled with urgency. He looked at her. Yeah, I can. Good. Hey, what are you? Without a moment's hesitation, Anko made a daring decision. She wrapped her arms tightly around Naruto and leaped into the unknown, plunging into the ravine towards the river below. Kimimaro looked down the cliff face. A meek Tayuya stood beside him. They can't have gone far. We can still catch them, Tayuya suggested. Don't bother. You failed miserably in your task. You even allowed Kadamaru to be killed, and I liked him much more than you. Tayuya shrunk in on herself. The only reason I won't kill you now is that I also failed in my task, and you still have use to Orochimaru. Come, let's meet back up with the others. Kakashi hopped from tree to tree with Sakura ahead of him. Sakura looked back. He was laboring and going slow. Sensei, we can stop and take a break? No, we can't. We have to find. The others make it to Konoha. Kakashi stumbled and fell off the branch. Sakura jumped after him, barely breaking his fall. I'm good. We can keep going. No, Sensei. You won't make we need to find somewhere to rest. As much as Kashi hated to admit it, she was right. He had only done quick first aid on his worst wounds, and the travel was already undoing that. The amount of chakra he had to use was also getting to him. Any other ninja in his circumstance would be okay to travel for a few more hours, but with his Sharingan, it was like running on a treadmill on the brink of exhaustion. Help me lean against this tree, said Kakashi as Sakura lowered him. Go underground and see if you can sense any underground structures or caves. Shouldn't we be looking for the others? Pakken should at least bring Sasuke to us. Sakura nodded and put her trust in her teacher. Sakura performed the hiding like a mole technique and began to sense for any nearby natural structures. After about a minute, she came up and reported her findings. There's a cave a few miles from here. Do you think you can make it? Kakashi put his hand on his knee and groaned as he got up. I have to, let's go. Once they reached the cave, Sakura laid Kakashi down against a wall and immediately tried to perform first aid. Sensei, you were so worried about us. I thought you were going to keep yourself safe, too, Sakura said, her voice layered with concern. Kakashi chucked. Don't worry. I'm like this after every big mission. I'm used to it by now. You shouldn't be. After several minutes, Sakura had done her best to treat Kakashi's wounds. It wasn't a professional job, but she did well enough to stop the bleeding. Kakashi maneuvered himself into a more comfortable position on the ground. I'm sorry. We shouldn't have taken you guys here. It's not your fault, Sensei. We all wanted to go. Sakura, keep an eye out for Sasuke. You two are going to need to look out for one another. I probably won't be able to move for at least a few days. Until then, you have to keep each other safe. If it comes to that, you may have to leave me. Stop. Don't talk like that. We won't leave you, so don't even say it. Light tears began to form at the edge of Sakura's eyes. After a few moments, Sakura asked a question. Do you think Anko and Naruto are okay? Kakashi smiled under his mask. Those two together are unstoppable. They'll be fine. Kakashi, a few minutes later, fell asleep, leaving Sakura alone to protect them both. Sasuke sat in a tree, avoiding suppression. His chakra was already struggling with Jirobo, but he had to retreat when the other one showed up. He barely managed to escape and was now hiding while the two of them searched the surrounding area. He felt a presence and went to strike, only to have the kunai knocked from his hands. He jumped to look at his assailant, which was, to his utter surprise, a small pug. Man, Kakashi hasn't taught you guys any manners, has he? Said the pug. Who are you? My name is Pakken. I'm one of Kakashi's dog summons. He ordered me to track your scent and bring you to him. His voice was laced with worry. Sasuke asked, are the others all right? Kakashi is with the pink-haired girl, but he mentioned he didn't know where the other two were. He asked me to take you to the two of them. What about the two patrolling the area? Pakkun sniffed the air. They are far enough away now that we can make our way to them. With a resolute nod, Sasuke set off, following Pakkun's lead, his heart set on reuniting with Sakura and Kakashi. Anko and Naruto, still soaked from the river, traveled slowly due to Anko's leg wound. They washed up far downriver and had been traveling for a few hours. Naruto had no experience in cases where the whole team was split apart, and they had no solid idea where they were about Konoha. Are you okay, sis? Naruto asked, clearly worried. I'm okay. Just as long as we can get somewhere to rest for a moment. Can't we rest now? No. They might be after us. We can't risk running into the bone guy again. Naruto nodded while he was still worried about her state. He trusted that she knew her own body. So what are we going to do? We have to meet back with the others, asked Naruto. Protocol in this situation is to find a town or village near a leaf outpost. They usually have ninjas stationed there. Naruto's face fell, and he asked, "Do you think the others are okay?" Of course they are. That bone guy seemed pissed when he fought us. The others must have given them the slip. We just have to find out where we are and make it to an outpost. What outpost are you talking about? Inquired Naruto. They are all around the Land of Fire. They hold supplies and shelter for ninjas on long-term missions. If we want to meet up with the others, that would be our best bet since that would be the first place Kakashi and the others would go. As they approached the edge of the woods, they heard voices from the shoreline. Anko looked at Naruto and motioned to get down. Naruto crouched right beside her and began to listen to the conversation. In front of them was a fishing hut with a small dock. Beside the dock was a sizable fishing boat with multiple people on it. I'm telling you, it's now worth it. We can't hide our haul. It will only backfire. The last time someone tried, they had their boat taken away, and he made an example of them. I'm not saying we hide everything. We just need to keep some for our families, at least. Please, my daughter is hungry, and the little we get to keep would only feed us both for the next week. No, I'm sorry, Kakashi, but I have to worry about more than just you. We could lose what little food we already got, said a tall brown hair man, presumably the leader of the group. As the two continued their argument, Anko turned to Naruto and said, "We should get their help and ask for a ride back to their village." What? Why didn't you say we shouldn't trust anyone but ourselves when we are out on missions? Yeah, but this is different. I can barely move, and we are too vulnerable by ourselves out in the open like this. And they probably live in a village, meaning we can find out where the hell we are and head out to the outpost when I get better. Naruto thought for a moment and then nodded. What Anko was saying made sense. Okay, let's go. Wait, they probably won't be eager to help random ninjas in the woods. So what do we do? Anko performed hand signs and transformed into a plain brown hair woman in civilian clothing. Okay. Transform into a younger sibling of this hinge. Naruto nodded and transformed. He had transformed into a brown hair kid with farmer's clothes. Okay, here is the plan. After a few minutes, Anko explained what Naruto had to do. Okay, so remember the cover story and play it cool. Don't try to overact or say too much. I got it. Back in Konoha, they call me Naruto Uzumaki, the master of disguise and espionage. Anko rolled her eyes. Okay, come on, brat. Let's start the show. Hello, can you help us, please? The fishers turned toward the woods to see a young boy and a young woman leaning against him, clearly favoring her right leg. What happened? The leader yelled. He began to walk forward, seeing that the two were clearly in some sort of distress. The other fishermen around the area began to look on, waiting to see if they could help. My sister is hurt and sick. We got attacked. By who? The fisherman asked as he cautiously looked around to see if the attackers were still in the area. Our parents had a small farm back west. We were attacked by bandits, and my sister and I ran. Naruto's eyes began tearing up, and his voice became more tense. But my sister hurt her ankle and fell and hit her head. Since then, she has been sick, and we have been searching the woods for help. I would go back, but Mom said not to, and I have no idea. The man interrupted Naruto and placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. It's okay, kid. You did your best. The woman who had been silent outside of her ragged breathing spoke up in a hushed voice. Please help us, or at least my brother, please. She then put more weight on her ankle and winced. The captain looked over to the rest of his crew, looking for silent confirmation of what he was thinking. After a few nods from his crew, he turned back to the boy and said, "We can't help your sister here, but we can take you back to our town to get someone to look at her." The boy sniffled and began to rub tears out of his eyes. "Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know how we can repay you," said the woman. The man put his hand on the boy's head. "No worries, kid. What kind of man would I be if I left a woman and child to fend for themselves?" He then offered his shoulder for the woman to lead on, which she took early as he led her to the dock. "You caught us when we were about to head back anyway." Naruto followed and asked, "So, where do you live?" One of the other sailors responded, "We all come from different villages, but we all live in the Land of Waves." In her hinge, Anko lay on a small cot, her eyes tracing the patterns on the ceiling. The cloudy sky peeked through the holes in the roof, and the breeze that slipped and carried the heavy humidity. Her gaze shifted to her wrapped wound, a stark reminder of her vulnerability. Anko's mind wandered back to her encounter with Kimimaro. Flashback. Days earlier, before Anko and Naruto jumped into the river, Anko fired off another flurry of Sanbon at Tayuya. Since she arrived to help Naruto, they had kept her on the back foot, with Naruto using clones to stave off the Doki. At the same time, he got in close in an attempt to apprehend her flute with Tayuya. They had her on the ropes as she couldn't play her more complex melodies for her techniques, as she was constantly being barraged by Sanbon and Naruto making continued attempts at her flute. After several minutes of this, Naruto finally landed a Gale-style palm strike on Tayuya's hand, sending her flute flying. Damn it! Anko struck Sanbon in points in her leg, hampering Tayuya's mobility. She started to limp away toward her flute, but she was met by a small army of Narutos who began to hold her down. Get off, damn it! Anko landed next to the restrained Tayuya. I'm only going to tell you once. I'm going to get you to tell me everything you know about Orochimaru or else. Or else what? Said Tayuya. Anko deftly took a Sanbon, dabbed it in a vial she had in her coat, and pieced Tayuya's hand. Her hand began to feel like it was on fire, and Tayuya started to scream in agony. What did you do to me? That is venom from a vicious breed of fire ants in the forest of death. It won't kill you, but it will hurt like hell, and I got a hell of a lot more of it if you don't tell me everything now. Naruto saw Tayuya's eyes tear up as she continued to scream. Sis, this is wrong. We can't do this. It's not right. Naruto's voice quivered with a mix of fear and concern. Shut up, Naruto, you don't understand. This is my first chance to get him in years. I can't let it go. From above, Anko heard projectiles zipping through the air. 10-finger drilling bullets. Small bone fragments flew through the trees and went toward Anko and Naruto. They dismissed most of Naruto's clones, but Naruto's original body was far enough away that he could dodge the bullets. Anko wasn't so lucky as one of the bone bullets hit her leg. She managed to stumble next to Naruto and looked for their assailant. Kimimaro descended before them, his body transforming into a menacing array of bone spikes. Dance of the Camellia. Naruto reacted by summoning dozens of clones and had them charge at Kimimaro. Kimimaro began to spin and weave through the clones easily, dispatching them easily. Anko took out a syringe from her felled kit and injected it into her leg, slowing the blood flow in the area around her wound. She turned toward Naruto. We have to move now, said Anko. But we can fight him, said Naruto. Just trust me, Naruto, said Anko. Anko and Naruto hoped to go to the branches above and begin to move away. After Kimimaro defeated the last clone, he turned to the still battered Tayuya. I expect you to follow me so you can help me clean up this mess. He then began to go after his prey at alarming speed. Anko winched and had to focus to keep her balance each time she jumped and landed. Naruto was still reserved about running away. Why are we running? Anko shook her head. He has a very powerful Kekai Genkai, where he can manipulate his skeleton for combat. It makes him a difficult opponent to face since regular attacks won't work on him, but we can still take him if we work together, countered Naruto. Maybe, but we can think about how to beat him while running. What Anko was saying was only half the reason she wanted to run. Another was that Kimimaro's arrival implied that he defeated Kakashi, something she desperately didn't want to think about right now. Naruto looked back to see Kimimaro gaining on them. Naruto, on my signal, turn around and use Great Breakthrough on my technique. He nodded. Okay, I got you, said Naruto. Anko turned herself around mid-air and went through hand signs. Fire release. Great fireball technique. She released a massive fireball. Kimimaro. Naruto followed her lead and performed. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Naruto put a massive amount of chakra into the technique, producing shearing winds and making the fireball triple in size and intensity. The sequence was fast and was done when Kimimaro was in the air, unable to dodge. As the massive flame went toward him, he held a blank expression as if dead on, creating an explosion of fire. Yes, we did it, said Naruto in celebration. Anko hoped for Naruto's statement to be true as she watched the smoke to see if their combo attack had any effect. Her heart dropped when she saw Kimimaro jump through the smoke with a massive shield of bone coming from his arms. He melded back into his skin, and he continued his pursuit unharmed. Naruto looked over to Anko, losing some confidence at how little their powerful attack just did. So what are we going to do now? Anko began to think that the only attack that could do any damage was her Flames Wisps technique. However, it required a lot of time to use, and the target needed to stay in one area. As she looked back at Kimimaro steadily gaining on them, she lost confidence in that idea working. Anko was shaken out of her thoughts by a panicking Naruto. Hey, sis, I think we're out of the forest. Anko looked up to see the edge of the forest and a massive ravine that went on for miles. Let's change direction, Anko said. As Anko was about to, Kimimaro appeared only several feet from her and held the tips of his fingers toward her. 10-finger drilling bullets. Anko reacted quickly and tackled Naruto out of the trees and onto the ground below. They found themselves on the edge of a cliff, with Kimimaro approaching. In flashback, Anko stopped her reminiscing as the door to the small shack opened, and Naruto entered still in his hinge with Osami following behind him. Osami was the leader of the group of fishermen they ran into. He had allowed them to stay in a shack near his home for the time being. He carried a bowl of soup and laid it down next to Anko. Sorry, it's not much, not a lot of stuff to make food with nowadays, said Osami, his voice tinged with embarrassment. Oh, no worries. You have already been more than kind by letting us stay here, said Anko sincerely. When they first arrived in the village, Anko had a chance to survey the area. It was clear that this was an impoverished region, making the small bowl of soup Osami offered them all the more significant. Anko thought herself well-read and prided herself on her knowledge of global affairs. But the poverty she witnessed in the Land of Waves differed from her expectations. She knew it was a small island nation east of the Land of Fire. They had no centralized government or ninja village and a low population. She figured that a nation with sea trade routes to 3 significant elemental nations would at least be financially stable, but it seemed she was wrong. As she sipped her soup, Anko decided it was time to broach the subject of her and Naruto leaving. They could walk across the sea back to the Land of Fire, but she didn't want to draw too much attention if it wasn't necessary. I thank you for your hospitality, but my brother and I must see if our parents made it out all right. Is there any way we can get a boat off the island? Asked Anko. Osami shook his head. Not unless you have the Rio to spend. My crew and I are only allowed to set out once every 2 weeks. You might catch a ride on another one of the crews up the coast, but you're likely gonna have to get passage on one of the freighters, and they'll take you leg before they allow you on for free. How much do they charge? Asked Anko. Last price I heard was 500,000 Rio. Anko cringed at the number. Who has that kind of money? No one, but the price of everything around here is increasing, explained Osami. Why is everything so expensive here? Asked Naruto. Osami sighed and sat down on a wooden seat in the corner. It wasn't always like this. When I was a boy, we had plenty to go around. Everyone made a good living as fishers or working for one of the shipping companies. My old man owned one and raised me and my sister comfortably. Osami said, happiness in his tone as he remembered better times. What happened? Questioned Naruto. Gato. Osami's voice had enough venom to make Anko and Naruto flinch. He came through here a little over a decade back with his little group of thugs. They went around pressuring the people who owned shipping companies to sign over everything to him. Trade deals, ships, hell, even houses if they were close enough to the port. What did they offer you? Inquired Anko. Osami waved his hand dismissively. They would have done better taking a shit in our hands. We could have made what they were giving us in 2 months if we kept the company. My dad refused, and they kept pushing it. A busted window turned into a sabotaged boat. They wouldn't stop. Did your dad sign the contract? Yeah, he did. They kidnapped my sister and threatened to sell her off. Since then, Gato has had control over everything. All the stuff in the country comes from the sea, so he can charge what he likes, and the only jobs available are working for Gato at his shipping company, and they pay you just enough to keep you alive for the next week, said Osami, his restlessness at the current situation evident. Osami then sighed and stood up from the chair. Sorry about that. I can get awfully passionate. It's not your issue. I'll take you back when I head back out in a couple of weeks. You are welcome to stay here until then. Why don't you stop them? It's only one guy. You can't just let him push him around like that, said Naruto, wondering how people could allow themselves to get bullied around so easily. Osami looked at Naruto with pity in his eyes. A lot more people around here used to think the same. They even had a leader whose name was Kaiza. He rallied the people and tried to stand up to Gato. Tried. What happened to him? Osami's features darkened. and he dismissed Naruto's question, is not your problem. Seriously, you folks don't need to be messed up in all this. He then made his way toward the door and turned around. And if you need anything, just come over and knock on my door. Osami then exited the small, dilapidated shack. Anko glanced at Naruto, noticing his intense gaze fixed on her. She immediately got what he was getting at and began to protest. No, we can't. We have to find the rest of the team, but these people need help. They helped us. We can't just abandon him, said Naruto. Look, how about we leave tonight? We can walk back to the land of fire, and when we get back to the village, we can tell the Hokage about all this, Anko bargained. There's no way I can do that, Naruto pointed outside. These people are struggling badly, and it's all because of one rich asshole. We can do something about it. Why don't we? Naruto, we can't. Okay? This situation is probably a lot more complex than we can solve in a few days. And who knows what could happen with the others if we wait that long? Anko's voice was filled with concern. You told us to believe in each other, and I'm doing that. I would want them to do the same thing if they were here. If you're not going to help me, I will find this Gato guy and kick his ass myself. Anko sighed. This kid was way too persuasive. Fine, we'll see what we can do, but we can only stay a few days. After that, we leave. Naruto smiled. Awesome. Let's go find that guy and show him what's for. Hold up. It's not that simple. Gato is not just your run-of-the-mill gang lead. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world and one of the biggest shipping companies in the world, explained Anko. How do you know that? Asked Naruto. I read Naruto, and it can be pretty useful if you do it more than one time a week. Naruto bristled at the call-out. It means that we have to find a way to displace his company from Wave, or someone is just going to come back to take it over. How are we going to do that? A knock came from the door. Osami's son yelled, Dad, someone's at the door. He got up and went to answer the door to see Anko and Naruto still in their henges. Oh, you two. Do you need anything? Anko and Naruto dropped their henges, revealing their identities as ninjas. Osami stood in the doorway, mouth open in shock. Anko spoke. My name is Anko Mitarashi, and this is Naruto. We're both ninjas from Konoha and would like to help. Sakura finished changing Kakashi's bandages and ensuring none of his wounds were infected. It had been nearly a full day since they arrived at the cave. Sasuke found them a few hours later, and since then, they had taken the chance to rest up with them, alternating watches between the night. She smiled at Pakken, snuggling into Kakashi's chest. Pakken had told them he had 2 more days before he was unsummoned. It wasn't enough time to return to the village, but he agreed to stay and help them protect Kakashi as long as possible. Sakura looked over to Sasuke, who was near the entrance, using the light to sharpen his weapons. They had only said a few words to one another since meeting back up, and it made her feel self-conscious about how little their relationship had progressed over the months. Naruto always started conversations between the three of them, so it masked the fact that she and Sasuke rarely spoke to each other directly. Sakura shook away her anxieties about Sasuke and focused on more important matters. Kakashi said he would be out for a few days, and they needed to make a plan. She walked up to Sasuke. He turned around, hearing her footsteps echo in the cave. We need a plan. Kakashi Sensei is in a rough condition. I doubt that even when he regains consciousness, he'll be able to move right away, explained Sakura. Meaning we have to make plans for those 5 to track us down again, said Sasuke. Sakura nodded. Yeah, we should start with what we know about them. Sakura and Sasuke began discussing their fights with Gerbo, Sakan, and his brother. So it seems like whatever this curse mark is, increasing all their physical and chakra abilities. It also gives them a second wind. I had the big guy almost defeated, but once he activated his second form, it was like I was fighting a completely different guy. So do you think all of them will come after us? Asked Sakura. You said Kakashi disabled the leader, so they may hesitate to come after us. If they know how hurt he is, they will try to take advantage of his weakened state. Considering who he is, Sakura remembered what the leader had said to Sasuke when they first encountered Sound 5. I get why they want Kakashi, but why would they want to go after you? The Sharingan, that's the only thing I can think of. It's the most powerful dojutsu in the world, and as far as I know, only 3 people have it. Me, Kakashi, and the man who killed my clan. Yeah, but you don't have your Sharingan, do you? Sakura covered her mouth and scolded herself for saying something stupid. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. No, it's okay. It's just... Sasuke paused. A lot of our clan's knowledge about the Sharingan was given orally through stories. My dad was going to show me how to unlock mine. And sometimes I wonder if I'll ever get my Sharingan, or am I destined not to carry on the will of my clan? Sasuke's vulnerability took aback Sakura, but quickly reassured him. Don't say that you work harder than anyone I know. I'm absolutely sure you'll get you, Sharingan. So please don't lose hope. Sasuke closed his eyes, and a small smile came across his lips. Thank you. I usually never doubt myself, but sometimes it just comes out. Sakura blushed lightly. No problem. Sasuke then swiftly redirected the conversation to the plan. Do you think you can hide the entrance to the cave with your earth jutsu? Sakura shook her head. The entrance is too big to close up with my earth jutsu. And if I raise the ground, it will probably give away our position due to the distinct changes in the terrain it causes, explained Sakura. Sasuke nodded. Yeah, the guy I fought also used earth jutsu. Meaning if he can use a technique similar to yours, we'll likely find out eventually, Sasuke admitted, his tone tinged with concern. We can't make a plan until we figure out how many of them are after us, if any at all, said Sakura. They heard a yawn as Pakken stretched and walked over to them. If you need to know how many of them are after you, I am your dog. Kimimaro looked at his team. They had recovered Kadamaru's body and sealed it into a summon scroll. After he had called a meeting to discuss their next move. Each of us failed miserably in our task, and we should each expect punishment from our master once we return. But there is still an opportunity to make some things right. Jirobo and Sakon, I need you two to track down Hitaki and the Uchiha. Me and Tayuya must check on preparations for our other task. I expect both of you to meet us at Lord Orochimaru's hideout with Hitaki dead and the Uchiha captured, Kimimaro declared, his voice filled with determination. Sakon spoke up. Wouldn't Tayuya be a better option here? Her ninjutsu would be valuable in detaining the Uchiha. Tayuya looked eager to accept the role change, not wanting to be alone with Kimimaro. I agree that she would be useful, but her part in the master's plan will be essential if things change, Kitamaro explained. Do you think we will go with Plan B? Asked Sakon. Despite them not learning Kabuto's identity, the Leaf now knows a spy is in the village. It may not change our circumstances, but I'm unwilling to take a chance. Kimimaro turned on his heel and began to walk away without uttering another word, his silence heavy with unspoken command. Tayuya turned towards Sakon and Jirobo. By Fatso, hope you idiots don't get yourselves killed, mocked Tayuya. Jirobo's voice was tinged with disappointment as he spoke. Considering that you were the only one here who was defeated, I would have assumed you would have gained some humility. It appears I was wrong. Whatever. They caught me off guard. How was I supposed to know that, brat? Tayuya, Kimimaro said, giving Tayuya a look with cold rage. Tayuya immediately piped down and started to follow Kimimaro. Come on, let's finish this trash off, said Sakon. Do not underestimate our opponents. The Uchiha was formidable and cunning, and I assume the girl you fought was also a challenge. Not many could survive long against you and your brother's technique. She got lucky. Next time, it'll be over in an instant. Jirobo shook his head, annoyed by the overconfidence of his companions. I wish Kadamaru were here. With his summons, we could have found them within the day. Now we have to scour the forest looking for them. All the more reason we should hurry, said Jirobo as he and Sakon went off to pick up the trail of their targets. Anko and Naruto traveled north as Osami had directed them. He told them of a man resisting Gado's control and building a bridge to stop Gado's stranglehold on the island. It was a man named Tazuna, who was Kaisa's father-in-law. Osami had told them the whole story of what happened to Kaisa and how it has demoralized the citizens to this day. Tazuna had been going around Wave asking for donations to hire a team of ninjas to protect himself and the bridge. Though from what Anko gathered, the donations wouldn't have paid for any mission above a C rank. After about an hour of travel, they made it to Tazuna's house. They walked up to the door and knocked. One moment, please, a feminine voice said from behind the door. The door opened, and a woman with long dark blue hair came out. She wore a short-sleeved pink shirt with the end of the sleeves and a red collar, as well as a long blue skirt. Hello, does Tazuna live here? Asked Anko. Yes, he does. Who is asking? Tsunami paused as she saw the forehead protectors. Are you here to help? Tsunami asked in a meek voice, weary of a trap. You bet we are, Naruto said as he put a thumb on his chest. Dad, come quick. Ninja are here, yelled Tsunami. What? But I haven't even gone to hire some yet, Tazuna yelled as he came in view of the door and spotted Anko and Naruto. His mouth went slack-jawed. Come inside. We can talk about this over tea, suggested Tsunami. Anko and Naruto came inside and began to tell Tazuna and Tsunami about their circumstances for being there. Well, it looks like my luck just keeps getting better. I can't believe an actual ninja. By the way, are you sure this pipsqueak is up to help guard me and my bridge? It's not an easy job. You know, boasted Tazuna. Hey, who are you calling a pipsqueak? I have you know you're talking to the future Hokage here, responded Naruto. Tazuna looked closer at Naruto. I don't see it. Hold up, Gramps. We never said anything about guarding you, interrupted Anko. What do you mean? My bridge is the only hope for this country, retorted Tazuna. You're either too naive or too full of yourself if you really believe that, said Anko. No, listen here, Missy. I don't know who you think you are if you think you as an outsider. Can you tell me what's best for my own damnation? Well, this outsider happens to be one of the best infiltration/sabotage specialists where I come from, and I'm saying that this whole bridge situation doesn't make any sense. Gato could have had you and your family killed or detained as soon as you started on the bridge. Tsunami gasped. Don't say such things. Anko shrugged. It's true. Have you ever considered that Gato is letting you build this bridge? How long have you been at it? About 5 months. Tazuna, growing annoyed at Anko, and he has known about it for that long and hasn't lifted a finger. I don't buy it. Something fishy is happening here, and even if he just let the bridge be built, it wouldn't solve the issues with your country, said Anko. It doesn't matter why he hasn't made a move. This bridge is still the only shot we got to save this country, said Tazuna. Okay, tell me, once you connect the bridge to the Land of Fire, what's the next step? Asked Anko. We will go out and buy cheaper goods and get traders to come here, explained Tazuna. Land traders who you have no previous relationship with will come to the edge of the Land of Fire to do business with a poor market, and from my memory, the closest settlement from here that you could trade with is several days easy on foot, and it's not like they would have a surplus of supplies. Anko criticized. Sis, stop being mean. I thought we were helping them, said Naruto, unhappy with how she was talking. Well, what the hell do you want me to do? I'm just one man. It's all I can think of, said Tazuna. Anko's eyes and tone softened as she looked at Tazuna. Look, Gramps, I'm not trying to shit on your ambition. In fact, you're probably one of the gustiest people I have ever met. All I'm trying to say is that expecting to build a bridge and all of the issues will be solved is not realistic. Tazuna slumped forward, sloshing around his bottle of sake in his hand. It's all I'm good at. I'm just a washed-up old drunk outside building bridges. I can't fight, so this is my way of helping my people. I have to honor him. Anko smiled. Well, don't worry. You have the 2 best ninjas available to pull something like this off. We need more information to determine Gato's weaknesses and any vulnerabilities in his operation, and to understand why he hasn't stopped your bridge project yet. Anko turned toward Naruto. What I need you to do is to create shadow clones and hinge them into different things, from people to animals, and eavesdrop and prod for information on Gato. This would usually take several days, but with how many you can make, it can be done in a few hours, said Anko. How do I get information? I've never done something like this before, questioned Naruto. Anko shrugged. You'll be fine. You are so naturally charismatic. People will be telling you their life stories after you talk to them for a bit. What are you going to do? Asked Naruto. Oh, Sammy told me that Gato's biggest port is on the west side of the island. The dockmaster there must know something, so I will go there and politely ask a few questions, said Anko. Naruto got flashbacks to Anko asking questions to the girl they captured. Sis, you aren't going to hurt them, are you? Asked Naruto. No, civilians are super susceptible to Jinjutsu. It's really easy to get info out of them, explained Anko. What can we do? I don't want to make you do all the work, asked Tazuna. Keep working on the bridge. We don't want to draw suspicion about our presence, and we would appreciate any useful information you may have, Anko informed. As they discussed further details, none of them noticed a small boy peeking through a crack in his door, scowling. Pakken returned to the cave from his scouting expedition. Sasuke asked, Are they still after us? Pakkun nodded. I caught 2 synths still in the area. They appear to be the opponents you 2 fought before. You didn't smell the other 3, but can they still be in the area? Pakken shook his head. Unlikely. My sense of smell is very strong. Unless they have a high-level concealment technique, they will leave a trace. They likely sent these 2 after us, and the other 3 went after the rest of your team. Are they close by? asked Sakura. They're far enough away where they likely won't find you now. But if the two of them continue at the pace they're at, they'll be on our doorstep in a matter of days, explained Pakun, his voice tinged with concern. Do you think we can move Kakashi? Questioned Sasuke, trying to go through their options. Sakura shook her head. Not at a speed that would be viable. Plus, if we are caught with him out in the open, he'll be a sitting duck. Sasuke nodded. They could carry Kakashi and escape without trouble, but if they did encounter those two, Kakashi would be a sitting duck. Then we have to stand our ground then, said Sasuke. That might not be too bad. Well, we know most of their abilities, and we know they are after us, meaning we can dictate where we fight them. So you're suggesting we trap the area? No, not just that. We should create a battlefield next to the cave where we can take advantage of them coming after us. Sasuke began to expand on Sakura's statement. It would be far enough away from Kakashi where he won't get caught up in the fighting, and it gives us the best chance to win. Okay, let's go over our supplies. They went through there in Kakashi's ninja pouches and pulled out all of the supplies they had. 100 meters of ninja wire, 30 shuriken, 10 kunai, 5 explosive tags, 2 windmill shuriken, and 4 smoke bombs. Sasuke nodded. We can do a lot with this. Sakura was silent, her mind racing with all the possibilities if she used her jinjutsu. Sasuke looked concerned as he watched Sakura stare intensely at the equipment before her. After several minutes, she turned towards Sasuke with a grin. They won't know what hit them. Anko was crouched on top of a warehouse as she surveyed the port. Several laborers were through to the shipyard, with warehouses littered through the port. There was also a 2-story building, which Anko assumed was the offices. A loud bell rang through the yard. There were a multitude of groans as the workers stopped what they were doing and began to make their way to the center. Anko overheard some conversations as they passed by her. Another announcement. What do you think it is this time? He probably wants to show off his new watch or something. At this point, I think he just likes the sound of his voice. When the workers gathered, a gaudily dressed man came out and stood looking over them. Hello, everyone. I'll make this quick since we are all busy. Gato has informed me that the production from this port has dropped significantly, so I regretfully have to tell you that your pay will be docked until we get back up to our usual standards. The group of workers went into an immediate uproar and began protesting. What do you mean production has dropped? We have been working our asses off. You can't keep doing this. We have families to feed. Anko seized the opportunity presented by the bustling crowd to slip toward the office building. Anko went snuck through the port until she arrived at the building. Anko meticulously surveyed the exterior of the building. She spotted a window on the back wall and stealthily approached it. Upon closer inspection, she noted that the lock was a basic latch. With a soundbon in hand, she deftly pierced through the wood and lifted the latch, allowing herself entry. Once inside, she carefully closed the window behind her and silently scoped out the room. Making her way to the corner behind the desk, she went through hand signs and performed the transparent escape technique. Anko became invisible. The technique required a lot of chakra to use and maintain, so it wasn't helpful against ninjas, but it was perfect for people who couldn't sense it. After waiting several minutes, the dockmaster entered his office with the foreman behind him. You can't do this, We already had a pay cut last month, said the foreman asserted. I keep telling you it's not up to me. You are going to take it up with Gato, said the dockmaster, dismissing his concerns. You know I damn well I can't do that. The foreman then looked around at the dockmaster's lavish office. I see you aren't suffering any repercussions from these pay cuts. What are you implying? Just that you are a greedy bastard that is fattening his wallet while our families starve. Be careful, boyo. Do you even know who you're talking to? The dockmaster said, smugness oozing through his voice. The foreman tensed up, his face showing regret over his actions. Gato and I have known each other for years. You know well that Gato doesn't take kindly of people who disrespect him or his associates. The foreman was silent as he tightened both his fists at his sides. Any more complaints? No, good. Now be a good little foreman and calm the rest of the workers down. If I have to keep listening to their complaining, I'm going to get a headache. The foreman left the office, and the dockmaster began to reach into his desk. Anko took action, dropped her jutsu, and grabbed him, one hand on the back of his neck and the other covering his mouth. She then turned him around to face her. Looking into his eyes, she began channeling chakra into him before using genjutsu to put him into a hypnotic state. Once it took effect, she let him go, and he plopped down right into his chair, eyes glazed over, staring forward. Testing to see if her technique worked, She asked a simple question. Who are you? The man responded in a monotone voice. My name is Okano Owain, and I'm the dockmaster of this port. Anko, satisfied with the hypnosis, began her interrogation. Why hasn't Gato dealt with Tazuna? He wants to let him do most of the work on the bridge. He will kill him and take control of the bridge. We plan on tolling travel in and out of the island. How many thugs does Gato employ? It goes anywhere from 200 to 300 at any given time. Why such a wide fluctuation? Gato is a miser. He's underpaid his mercenaries for years. When they ask for more money, he hires cheaper ones to drive the others out or kill them. What mercenary group does he hire from now? And how skilled are they? Bottom of the barrel, the major troops won't deal with him anymore, and he doesn't pay enough to get anyone of decent quality. The only ones he pays well are his bodyguards, Waragi and Zori. How does he plan to eliminate Tazuna? I don't know. We know that Tazuna will hire ninjas soon. Gato said he had it solved, but he didn't tell me more than that. Does Gato have adversaries that can threaten his position in the wave? Not here. Gato's central hub used to be in Tanzaka, but he ended up pissing off the wrong people and even had the daimyo breathing down his neck. That's why he moved Gato Company here. No authority to push him out. Anko thought about more questions she could ask. She only had a little more time. This was a big port, and eventually, someone would wander into this office. She canceled the genjutsu and cast another to put him to sleep. With a sense of satisfaction, Anko exited through the window and made her way back to Tazuna's, her mind buzzing with the valuable information she had just acquired. Naruto, feeling utterly drained, had spent the entire day with his clones, tirelessly gathering information on the island. Now, he was making his way to a spot one of his clones had found. He stumbled upon a secluded part of the forest, its air filled with the sweet scent of flowers. As he rested, he couldn't help but be reminded of a flower patch back in Konoha, tucked away in the forest behind the Hokage monument. It was a place he often sought solace in during his childhood. Naruto perked up as he heard the sound of the crunching of leaves and footsteps approaching. He saw a feminine figure emerge from the woods. They had loose, long hair that cascaded down their back and were dressed in a pink, sleeveless, low-cut kimono with pale red edges decorated with small plum-colored swirls that went to their ankles, a striking sight in the forest. Oh, hello there. Am I intruding on anything? The stranger, a feminine figure, asked Naruto. Naruto shook his head, still lying on the ground. No, I was just resting here. It's been a long day for me. Yeah, I can understand that. It's been quite a stressful day for me as well. Are you from here? Asked Naruto. No, I'm new here. I like picking flowers to unwind, so I asked one of the locals for a good spot. Do you mind if I could find another spot? Go ahead. I don't own this place. As the stranger walked forward, they eyed Naruto's headband. Are you a ninja? Yep, I sure am. The one and only Naruto Uzumaki. Haku smiled at Naruto's enthusiasm. Well, my name is Haku. It's a pleasure to meet you, Naruto. Would you like to join me? I plan on making an arrangement, and I would like help picking out the right colors. Haku asked as they gestured to the flowers. Sure, but I've never picked flowers before. Trust me, it's not difficult. You'll get the hang of it quickly. The two picked flowers in the field, with Haku directing Naruto to which ones they needed. Haku had to tell Naruto multiple times that he was picking weed, much to their amusement. After about an hour, they rested and sat in the flower patch. Naruto, did you become a ninja? Asked Haku. To get strong and become Hokage, they are the strongest ninjas in their villages, and if I can get that strong, then I can protect my village and everyone I care about. Do you have a lot of people you care about? Yeah, Kakashi Sensei, Anko Sensei, Old Man Hokage, Iruka Sensei, Sakura, and I guess even Sasuke. He can be a jerk sometimes, but he's alright. Wow, that's a lot of people, Haku said, genuinely impressed. Yeah, I know, before, I didn't have a lot of people to care about, so I want to keep them safe by getting strong, said Naruto. Do you know who you look up to among them? Like a person who you would do anything for? Asked Haku. Naruto thought for a moment. I would have said Gramps before, but now I would probably go with Sis. Oh, you didn't mention you have a sister. Oh, she's not my sister. I just call her that. You must care about her a lot for you to consider her family, stated Haku. Yeah, she is super awesome. She helps me understand stuff when I don't get it. She's really smart and a badass ninja on top of all that. She sounds wonderful, Haku said, enjoying the warmth of Naruto's tone as he talked about his sister. Yeah, she's also an orphan, just like me. I'm lucky I didn't think after the academy that I wouldn't have someone like Iruka Sensei, but Anko is like him but cooler. In Konoha at the academy, Iruka sneezed and began to feel aggrieved. Do you have someone you look up to? Asked Naruto. A solemn expression came over their faces as they thought about recent events. Is there something wrong, Haku? Has your sister done anything you thought wasn't a good idea? Naruto immediately thought of Anko in the forest a few days earlier and her anger toward the girl they captured. A complete opposite of the usually calm and collected person he had come to know. He hadn't talked about it with her, but it disturbed him. Yeah, kinda recently too. I know she probably has her reasons, but I didn't like it. It felt like she was betraying who she was. Haku nodded. The person I'm closest to did something I didn't agree with recently too. What did he do? Naruto asked. Haku chose their word carefully, not wanting to reveal their identity. Well, he is about to go into business with someone I don't trust. We need money, but I know bad things will happen if we work with them. Did you tell him that? Haku shook their head. No, it isn't my place. If he feels it's the right decision, I will follow it. Naruto sat up. Well, why do you have to let him? You should tell him how you feel. But what if he doesn't listen? My gramps said once that people who care about you will take you seriously. Haku looked down and whispered, "What if you are a tool?" What did you say? Asked Naruto. Oh, nothing. Naruto stood up and stretched. Thanks, Haku. This talk made me want to talk to Anko. Naruto reached down to help Haku up. When he pulled Haku up, they were face to face, and Naruto, for the first time, noticed how pretty Haku was and began blushing. Haku became amused at this and said, Naruto, can I tell you a secret? Yeah, sure. Haku leaned over and whispered in his ear, I'm a boy. A shocked look came over Naruto's face, and Haku giggled at his reaction and began to walk away. As he began to exit the clearing, Haku turned around and looked at a still stunned Naruto. It was a pleasure meeting you, Naruto. I hope we meet again someday, Haku said as he left. Naruto stood there for several moments, still shell-shocked and slightly confused. He shook it off, taking it away to think about another day. Remembering his declaration, he went to find Anko. Naruto was waiting for Anko, a little distance from Tezuna's house. He spotted her coming up the trail, and he ran to her. Sis, we need to talk, Naruto said. Yeah, we have to overview what we both discovered in recon. No, not about that. I want to talk about what happened in the forest. What about it, Asect Anko? About what you did to that girl. I understand she tried to kill us, but she was pinned down and defenseless, and you hurt her, and you said you would do it more? Naruto, it's complicated, said Anko. No, it's not. That wasn't you, sis. You were like a different person. Anko looked inward at her actions. She felt guilty about yelling at Naruto at that moment, but she couldn't bring herself to feel bad about her threatening to torture the girl. Look, Naru. Suddenly, Anko felt a pain in the side of her neck as the familiar pain of her curse mark called out to her. She knelt and held her neck. Her mind raced through images of her lost memories. The visions were intelligible, and each one lasted no more than a second. But one thing was clear. The voice of her former master. It was dark, but she knew she was inside. And all around her were pained groans and screams of people. The voice of her sensei broke through the noise. My dear Anko, I hope if there is one thing that you take away from this is that in the pursuit of knowledge, there are no limits or boundaries you can cross when you work toward your goal. Anko heard Orochimaru move away and shuffle around metal objects in what sounded like a pan. Do you know how many suffered when chakra healing techniques were first created? It's not well documented, but early practicers would often experiment on perfectly healthy people and break their bodies apart layer by layer, piece by piece. But no one ever talks about how evil medical ninjutsu is or its origins. Anko heard Orochimaru walk toward one of the groaning voices. After a few moments, the groans became screams of agony. Anko desperately tried to cover her ears, but the sound of the memory echoed through her mind. When we accomplish our goal, no one will remember the sacrifices we made or the methods we used. All that will matter is results. The sound of the memory stopped, and Anko's eyes shot open. She found herself curled up in a ball on the ground, Naruto hovering over her, panicking. When he saw that Anko had stopped writhing, he wrapped both his arms around her. Anko returned the hug and took the chance to touch her curse mark. The pain was still there, but it was subsiding. Naruto let go of the hug, and he had slight tears in his eyes. He began, "Sorry, I didn't know what to do. I thought something bad had happened. Anko put a hand on top of Naruto's head. Look, kid, it's alright. See, I'm okay. I just had a flare-up. I hadn't had one that bad in years," said Anko. "What happened?" asked Naruto. Anko sighed. She pulled down the collar of her trench coat and revealed her curse mark. "What's that?" "The man who the spy and those ninjas worked for is named Orochimaru. He was the Hokage's student and was my sensei." "Then why did they attack us if they are working for your teacher?" asked Naruto. Anko put her hand up. "I'll tell you everything later, I promise. It's just right now." Anko rubbed her curse mark. Naruto put his hand on Anko's shoulder. "I understand you don't have to tell me now. I get how hard it is to tell people things sometimes." Anko smiled. "Man, kid, you may not be the brightest, but in terms of emotional intelligence, you got the most ninja beat." "Is that an insult or a compliment?" asked Naruto. "A little of both, but seriously, thank you for calling me out. No, what I did in the forest wasn't me. I was angry and bitter. While we needed the information, the best thing we could have done was secure her and take her back to the village. If I had done that instead, we may not have ended up in this mess. Well, look on the bright side. If we didn't fall into the river, we wouldn't be able to help these people." "I guess you're right. Come on, let's go on and head inside," said Anko. They then went inside to go over what info they had collected. So from what we gathered, Gaara set up base here to avoid authorities and continue his illegal trade. Without a centralized government, army, or any nearby ninja villages, the people of Wave couldn't defend themselves from the thugs Gaara hired to keep control of the population. Anko explained, "He touches every commodity, from food to clothing, and charges extravagant prices to drain the population of what little wealth remains. He is extremely cheap and constantly replaced who is guarding him, to the point where he has low-quality thugs working for him." Tazuna nodded, going over the information. "Can't we just beat up all of his guards? Then he won't be able to mess with the people," asked Naruto. "That is possible, but that's still hundreds of people across the island. We would likely be found out before we manage to dispatch them all, and civilians would likely be caught in the crossfire," clarified Anko. "You said he doesn't pay them a lot. Can't we get them to turn on him?" asked Tazuna. Anko shook her head. "He gives them food, shelter, spending money, and most importantly, power. They have free reign over the population. The only way we could entice enough of them to turn off Gaara was if we offered to pay them a large sum of money, something we don't have. No, we need to find a way to make Gaara leave willingly." A light bulb came on in Naruto's head and, "Wait, sis, I have a perfect plan." After Naruto's explanation, Anko, Tsunami, and Tazuna had impressed looks on their faces. "You know what, kid? That might work if you can pull it off with your ninja magic," Tazuna said. Anko gave Naruto a proud look. "Look at you. All that reading has finally made you smart. But seriously, this puts a lot of the onus on you. Are you sure you can handle it?" Tsunami asked. Naruto put a thumb into his chest. "Don't worry, I got this. Whatever it is you're doing, it's not going to work." "Inari, stop being so negative. This plan is actually solid," said Tazuna. "No, I can't listen to this anymore. These people think they can come in and just solve all our problems in a few days. It's stupid. They're just going to end up dead," yelled Inari. "Inari, apologize this instant," ordered Tsunami. "No, I can't stand it. These ninja from their big OL fancy villages never had to suffer like us. They don't understand what pain feels like." Naruto almost started to yell in protest, but Anko put a firm hand on his shoulder and gave him a look that said, "I'll handle it." "Inari." Tsunami began to yell at her son before Anko interrupted. "No, it's okay. The kid's been through a lot." Anko's gaze turned directly to Inari. "Listen, kid, I know you're in a lot of pain right now, and it may not be my place, but I promise you that by tomorrow, your dad's dream of your country being free will be accomplished." Tears began to roll down Inari's eyes, and he ran off, yelling, "Shut up. You don't know anything. Sorry about him," apologized Tsunami. "Don't worry about it," said Anko. "Thanks, sis. You caught me before I said something stupid." "What you were going to say wasn't going to be stupid. It was probably right. But sometimes you don't need to tell people what's right. You need to tell them what they need to hear." "That's quite a wise young lady," commented Tazuna. "Well, They do call me the young but wise Anko Mitarashi. Sakon and Jirobo continued to look for their escaped quarry. We've been out here for days. How can we be sure they are still here? They could be long gone by now, complained Sakon. If you want to return empty-handed, be my guest. But I'm not leaving until I find something to report back on, said Jirobo. Whatever. I am not staying here for another. Wait! Jirobo stopped and crouched down. What is it? Jirobo put his hand on the ground and focused. There is a lot of movement in that direction. We should go check it out? Saxon rolled his eyes. Oh, joy. I can't wait to see another herd of deer. Isn't that right, Yukon? Yukon didn't answer. Sakon shook his head. He must still be asleep. Sometimes, I wish he would take over every once in a while. I could take a nap. If you're done with the theatrics, let's get moving. Sakon followed Jirobo for a few minutes before they arrived at the disturbance. They spotted Sakura and Sasuke standing near a river, collecting water in a bucket. Jirobo waited on a nearby branch, but growing impatient, Sakon immediately launched a surprise attack on the unaware duo. He grabbed a kunai and slammed it into Sakura, only for it to go straight through. Sakon snorted, really a regular clone, then swiped at illusionary Sasuke. They are not here. They probably just made a noise to throw us off. Jirobo's eyes widened, and he yelled, Genjutsu, you idiot. Sakon flared his chakra, and the clones disappeared. Sakon looked down where the bucket was, only to see an active explosive tag. Anko and Naruto were going to Gato's mansion to enact the plan. They had advised Tazuna and Tsunami to stay at home. Naruto was excited and practically bouncing up and down. This Gato guy won't know what hit him. Calm down. If everything goes well, we won't even have to fight. Anko then felt a chill run up the back of her neck. She immediately began to examine the surrounding area. They were on the coastline not far from Tazuna's house, and suddenly, a thick mist began to develop the area. Stay vigilant, Naruto. Naruto nodded and got into a combat stance. Anko recognized the jutsu as the hiding in mist technique, a common tactic used by mist ninjas to obscure their movements and launch surprise attacks. She extended her senses, and she heard something coming toward them. Get down. Anko dropped down, and Naruto followed suit. A massive sword went overhead and sunk itself into a nearby tree. As they looked over, a man appeared on top of the sword. He was tall and muscular, with light grayish skin, short, spiky black hair, dark brown eyes, and small eyebrows. He wore bandages like a mask over the bottom half of his face. Anko's mind raced, trying to find possibilities other than the reality in front of her. Of course, they would run into an A-rank missing nin. They were just that lucky. Anko could only say one thing. Zabuza Momochi. Zabuza grinned from under his bandages. An oppressive tension hung in the air as Anko and Naruto locked eyes with their formidable new adversary. Zabuza stood on his sword. The rat was right. Some ninjas are running around. What are two Konoha ninja doing this far from their village? Zabuza asked, the curiosity in his voice not overpowering his menacing presence. A drop of sweat rolled down Anko's forehead, and she tried her best to keep her voice from giving away any anxiety. I could ask you the same thing. Not often do you run into the demon of the mist in a backwater like this. Zabuza gave a dry chuckle. What brings me here is what brings people to most places. Money, but you two already know that since you were trying to mess with my employer. Anko couldn't help but give away to her surprise at Zabuza's statement. Zabuza answered her unspoken question. You have to ask the rat how he knew you were here. He probably made someone talk, but that person knew you were planning to sabotage Gato's operations. Anko's mind quickly determined who he was talking about. Tsunami and Tazuna were safe, as they had been with them, and the only other person who knew was Osami. What did he do to Osami and his family? Her anger and worry overpowered her fear. You should be more worried about yourselves at the present moment. The mist thickened and consumed Zabuza, making Anko and Naruto unable to see each other. Naruto, frozen by Zabuza's killing intent, was shaken out of it by Anko's voice. Naruto, stay calm. I need you to use a wind jutsu to disperse this mist. We can't fight him in this. Your wind jutsu is our best chance to clear the mist and gain the upper hand. Anko said quickly, knowing that Zabuza could strike any moment. Zabuza's voice then echoed all around them. 8 points that will kill you in one strike. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, jugular, subclavian artery, kidneys, heart, which will be my attack point. Naruto began to freeze in fear once again, but Anko put a hand on his shoulder. Although he couldn't see her, he felt calmer knowing she was nearby. Naruto then went through hand signs and pre-formed. Wind release great breakthrough jutsu. Naruto produced a large gust from his mouth, and the mist dispersed around them, and Zabuza was nowhere to be seen. After a few seconds, the mist reformed and closed around them again. Damn, we can't dismiss it. We have to get out of the area, Anko thought to herself. Anko steeled herself, ready to shield Naruto from Zabuza's next move. She focused her chakra to her ears and departed, relying on her one reliable sense. She heard the air shift above her and quickly put a kunai above her, blocking the strike from Zabuza. The force of her parry sent Anko sliding backward across the ground as she tried to recover quickly. Upon hearing the clash of metal, Naruto swiftly sprang into action. With a swift hand movement, he conjured 10 shadow clones, each dispatched toward the source of the sound, where Anko and Zabuza were. Naruto waited for his clones to pop so he could read their memories and determine where Zabuza was located. In a sudden twist, Naruto found himself shielded by Anko's protective tackle, just as Zabuza's massive sword crashed down on his previous position. After hitting the ground with Naruto, Anko sent through hand signs and performed Earth Style, Earth Dome. Anko turned to Naruto and tried to take advantage of their few moments of safety in her technique. A brief period when her Earth Dome jutsu provided a protective barrier against Zabuza's attacks. You need to make as many clones as possible and send them yelling in all directions. Then, pick a direction and run as quietly as possible until you get out of the mist. We can't run. We have to beat him if we want to do our plan. Naruto declared his previous fear forgotten. There is no way we can beat him if we stay in this mist. Just trust me, Naruto. As soon as this dome breaks, a sword came through the dome, and Anko barely managed to avoid losing her arm with the sword's edge, giving her a deep cut on her arm. The pain was excruciating, but she gritted her teeth and focused on the battle. Anko put her hands to the ground and dismissed the dome. Now Naruto, yelled Anko. Naruto created dozens of clones and made them run in all directions, their footsteps echoing loudly in the mist, creating as much noise as possible to mask Zabuza's hearing. After a few minutes of navigating through the dense, swirling mist, Anko finally reached its edge. She burst through, the mist parting behind her, and turned around. It was then that she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching, and Zabuza emerged from the lingering mist. That was a smart maneuver with the kid's clones back there. Zabuza looked Anko over. For someone who can manage to avoid 2 of my ambush attacks with sound alone, I expect you'd be some big name, but I don't recognize you. Anko smiled lightly. Well, I'm still up and coming in the ninja world. Can I convince you that Gato is a bastard that you shouldn't work for? Sure. If you have 500 million Ryo on hand, I'll gladly leave now, said Zabuza. I'm afraid. I don't have that much on me right now. Can't you let us go for free? Asked Anko. I'm afraid I can't do that. It's too risky to let anyone who knows where I am live. I already sent someone after that apprentice of yours. Well, as long as it isn't you, I'm confident he can handle whoever you sent, Anko said, her confidence in Naruto coming through in her voice. I wouldn't say that. Depending on how merciful Haku's feeling, it could be worse for your kid. Naruto emerged from the mist and scanned for Anko, but she was nowhere in sight. Confident she had also escaped, Naruto began sprinting around the perimeter to find her. After several minutes, Naruto came across a masked figure standing in his path. He wore a pinstriped outfit, which stopped at his knees. Over this, he wore a green haori with white trimmings, and around his waist a brown sash with a fringed trail wrapped around his waist twice. He also wore light brown platoon sandals with straps. His hair was gathered in a white bun holder while 2 locks fell loose, framing his face. Who are you? Asked Naruto. The masked figure replied, I'm the tool of Zabuza Momochi, and I'm here to dispose of you. Sakon jumped away from the explosive tag. The explosion caught him in his back. It knocked him away. His clothes were burned away, exposing his back. His brother melded out of his back and looked over his brothers. You'll live, but if Jirobo hadn't warned you, your arrogance would have killed us both, said Yukon. Shut it. I'm sick and tired of Jinjutsu, replied Sakon. Focus. They must be close by, Jirobo said as he landed near Sakon. Man on the ground again. You must like it there. The 3 looked across the river to see Sakura standing with a cocky look on her face. I'm sick and tired of you. Calm down. She's trying to rile you up. Don't fall for it. She's probably not even the real one. Sakura then threw 2 shuriken. They both went wide, missing her targets, before Sakon could mock her. The shurikens triggered a trap that launched kunai at Jirobo and Sakon. They dodged out of the way, but when the kunai hit the ground, they turned into smoke bombs and smoke filled the area. Fire release. Great Fireball Jutsu. A giant fireball came from above. Jirobo, recognizing the strategy from his last fight with Sasuke, managed to create a dome covering him and Sakon from the blast. After he dismissed it, the smoke was cleared, and Sakura and Sasuke were nowhere to be seen. Jirobo turned toward Sakon. The time for playtime is far from done. Activate your stage 2 now. We can't risk defeat here. Jirobo's curse mark began to glow as his skin turned a maroon color, his hair grew out, and he started to form warts across his forehead and shoulders. Sakon and Yukon agreed and began their stage 2 transformation. Sakon fully emerged, and both his and his brother's skin became red. They gained yellow irises with dark black mascara, and black curved markings appeared upward from the corners of their eyes. Their fingernails become longer and sharper. Their lips turn black. Their mouth is torn from ear to ear, and they gain canine teeth. They gain long, waist-length white hair. Their chins elongated, and a single long horn grows on opposite sides for each brother's foreheads. Symmetrically, their hardened skin turns black on opposite sides of their bodies. It folds like scales, like spiky armor on their arms and legs. Sasuke and Sakura landed in front of them. Oh, so you finally reveal yourselves? We didn't want to waste time fighting you guys, not full power. So we made you skip a few steps. Well, you should be careful of what you ask for. Last time, my brother and I only showed a partial extent of our ability. Watch carefully because it will be the last thing you see. Yukon looked at his brother. As long as we don't fall for any of their sections, the fight should be won. Sasuke gave Sakura a nod, and she returned it, both prepared to fight. Anko and Zabuza stood facing each other, ready for their inevitable battle. You know Gaara won't pay you, right? He has underpaid or backstabbed just about everyone who has worked for him, said Anko, trying one last attempt at convincing Zabuza to leave. I doubt he's such an idiot to think he could get away with not paying me, said Zabuza. You'll be surprised when a guy gets as much money as he has. They tend to develop a sort of god complex, replied Anko. Well, if he does, I'll make sure his head is on his desk by the end of the day. Now, enough chit-chat. I'm eager to see you bleed. Zabuza charged forward and thrust his sword forward to impale Anko. Anko, with her quick thinking, pulled down the sleeve of her trench coat, revealing her pellet launcher, and launched a pellet of poison gas directly at her feet. Anko then jumped backward, expecting the action to buy her some time. A horizontal slash hit her as she exited the gas, cutting through her fishnet armor and making a gash across her torso. Anko continued to move backward as she watched Zabuza emerge from the gas, unfazed. He took a deep breath and breathed it in. Ah, I recognize that. I can't recall the name, but it's produced from a rare plant in the Land of Iron, said Zabuza in an amused tone. You're immune. Anko's voice was laced with frustration. I think you would have more common sense to try poison on an opponent of my caliber. Anko gritted her teeth, placed her palms on the ground, and performed earth release. Tearing earth, turning palm. The ground split apart underneath Zabuza, making him jump into the air. Anko fired Sunbon, but Zabuza blocked them with his blade. Using the momentum from his jump, he went toward Anko with an overhead swing. Anko rolled out of the way and started to go through hand signs. Fire release. Flame bullet. Anko spat out a fast-moving condensed flame at Zabuza. Zabuza countered with water release. Gunshot. As both techniques clashed, he shot out a similar-sized stream of water from his mouth, which created a large amount of steam in the area. Anko, on instinct, put her hands down and molded chakra into the earth and performed earth release. Mud wall. Creating hasty fortification in front of herself, Anko found her decisions quickly rewarded as Zabuza's sword pierced the wall. Relieved she had just avoided death, Anko couldn't react in time as Zabuza's foot went straight through the wall and nailed her in the stomach, hurling her backward. Zabuza removed his foot from the wall, collapsing it as he did. Then, he walked forward slowly with his sword on his shoulder. How disappointing. I thought you would be an interesting fight, but you're only good at avoiding death. not dealing with it. Anko spit out blood. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Anko put a pellet in her launcher and fired it at Zabuza. Zabuza, taking it as an act of desperation, didn't dodge and simply held his blade up and let the gas pellet hit his blade. Zabuza paused as he took another sniff of the gas. It didn't smell natural. It was mixed with something as if trying to mask a scent. He then caught it, the faint scent of gunpowder, fire style. Ash ignition. Anko spat out a small moving ball of flame, igniting the gas. It exploded, causing dust and debris to go up into the air. Anko took this chance to distance herself and prepare for her next move. She ran through the forest and away from the explosion. That was the first time she used that technique in battle. She got the idea from Asuma when he told her about his technique a few years back, though her version was not nearly as powerful. She doubted Zabuza was disabled in the explosion and only had a few precious moments before he caught up with her. Feeling she had gotten far enough away, Anko stopped behind a tree and reached into her tool pouch. There, she found a small ink bottle with a brush attached to the cap. She took the brush and inscribed small summoning seals on the underside of both her wrists. Anko then took a deep breath and prepared to break a vow she had made to herself. She dabbed a finger in one of her wounds, went through her hand signs, and placed her hand on the ground. Out of the smoke, a colossal snake materialized. Its large, sleek scales were uniformly glossy black, and its chin and throat were a cream color. The sunlight from above cast a purple tint on its scales. The snake was coiled up, its head raised and turned toward Anko. It spoke, its voice hissing through the air like a breeze. It seems that my wayward summoner has finally returned. Hello, Mirai, Anko said, regret in her voice. Orochimaru let Anko sign the snake summoning contract about a year before they left the village. Anko remembers it as one of the happiest moments of her life. After a few months of practice, she was able to conjure her personal summon, Mirai. She and Mirai had built up a close relationship before she left with Orochimaru, but after she lost her memories, she swore off all snake-related jutsu, though over the years, Anko had allowed herself to use the non-intelligent snakes in rare cases, but she had never used Mirai or any of the more powerful summons, though now she wasn't in a position to keep a vow from when she was 13. Are you just going to stand there and say nothing? I would think that after a decade of silence, you would have a lot to say, Mirai said, her voice steady, showing no signs of annoyance or malice. I'm sorry, but I have no other option right now. I need your help. Will you give it? Asked Anko. Mirai looked down at Anko, studying her. It appears that your age hasn't affected your manners. It's a pity. I will assist you, but I have one request. What is it? We shall discuss later. Now, what do you need me to do? Questioned Mirai. Naruto stood his ground in front of the masked ninja. I have to get to Anko. Move. I don't want to hurt you, Naruto said, determined. I have to say the same. If you stay here, you can live. I'm sorry about your friend, but I can't allow you to pass, responded the ninja. Then I guess I don't have a choice. Naruto began to charge forward, only to be surprised as he raised his guard to block a blow from his side. Astonished by his opponent's speed, Naruto attempted to strike. However, the masked ninja blocked it and aimed a seven at Naruto's neck. Naruto barely managed to put his arm in the way of it. He then used his other hand to perform wind release, gale palm, creating a gust of wind, sending both him and his opponent sliding in opposite directions. Naruto then 20 clones and had them charge. The masked ninja quickly dismissed most of them, using his speed to perform quick strikes with 7. Naruto made another batch of 20, but this time, the first then threw shuriken and went through hand signs, shuriken shadow clone jutsu. The other 10 then performed wind release great breakthrough. Hundreds of fast-moving shurikens came at the masked ninja. To Naruto's surprise, instead of dodging, they began to go through hand signs, and a wall of ice formed in front of him, blocking all of the shuriken. He then touched the wall from the other side. Ice release, ice needle barrage. Small needles of ice began to shoot out from the wall, attacking Naruto and his clones. Naruto managed to take refuge behind a tree. What kind of jutsu is that? Naruto asked out loud. It's my Kekai Genkai. I was born with the ability to manipulate ice, replied the ninja. Naruto, from behind the tree, looked in front of him and saw water begin to rise and form into more needles. Thousands flying water needles of death. The needles began to rain down on Naruto. Naruto went through hand signs. Wind release great breakthrough. He created an enormous torrent of wind that dismissed most water needles. After his technique finished, he came out from behind the tree to confront the masked ninja. Why are you doing this? What is helping Gato even get you? The ninja's body language changed, showing signs of guilt. You wouldn't understand. I have no right to defy Zabuza's orders. Says who? Said Naruto. Enough. If you keep on resisting, I will have to keep escalating with more force, the ninja said, growing impatient. You'll need a lot of force because I won't be going down. Fine. The ninja weaved through hand signs, and Naruto felt the air around him run frigid as water formed into ice. A dome of mirrors appeared around him. The ninja then appeared in all of the mirrors. This is my ultimate technique. I'm sorry, but you have brought this on yourself. Sakon and Yukon rushed toward Sakura. Sasuke went to assist her, but Jirobo channeled Earth Chakra to his feet and stomped. Earth Style. Earth Flow Spears. Spikes of earth shot up between Sasuke and Sakura, separating them. Sasuke clicked his tongue. The core of Sakura and his strategy relied on them fighting different opponents. He needed to find a way to get Jirobo to fight Sakura and for him to fight the twins. Sasuke gazed at the oncoming Jirobo. Quickly, he leaped aside, causing Jirobo to collide with and obliterate some of the spikes. Sasuke pulled out a windmill shuriken and threw it at Jirobo. Jirobo dodged the first shuriken but was caught off guard when a second windmill shuriken, concealed by the first, struck him in the stomach. Jirobo grunted in pain as he pulled out the shuriken, and blood began to flow from his puncture wounds. Sasuke studied the wounds and noticed they didn't heal. Good. It looks like not all of you can regenerate, remarked Sasuke. Sasuke then decided to test Jirobo's injuries and began to engage him in taijutsu. Sakura was on the other side of the wall of spikes, doing her best to avoid attacks and keep her distance. She awaited an opening, but the ruthless brothers had conjoined together. They didn't allow her time to submerge into the earth. Sakura saw an opportunity when both brothers gazed at her. She subtly activated her double vision genjutsu and slipped past their guard to drive a kunai into their side. However, both brothers reacted swiftly and knocked her away. Looking back, she noticed they were no longer conjoined and looked around for the other brother. Sakura was confused when she couldn't find him. Suddenly, she felt a hit at the back of her knee. She fell on one knee, and her arms were pulled behind her back. Sakura craned her neck to see the culprit, and to her horror, Yukon was emerging from her back and pinning her arms back. You didn't think our ability stopped at manipulating our own bodies, did you? Said Sakon. Kill her now, urged Yukon. Sakon advanced with a kunai, the glint of the blade reflecting the fear in Sakura's eyes, ready to pierce her throat. Sakura struggled intensely against Yukon's hold, her every muscle straining against his grip. Sasuke witnessed this scene in the middle of his taijutsu brawl with Jirobo. His mind went to only one thought: not again. His heart pounded in his chest, a mix of fear and determination. Time slowed down as he dodged out of the way of Jirobo's overhead attack. Fueled by determination, Sasuke sprinted towards Sakura as the kunai raced towards her neck. He willed himself to go faster, channeling more chakra to his feet than he thought possible. Sakura closed her eyes as she heard the sound of metal-piercing flesh. She then realized she didn't feel the pain of her and felt her heartbeat. She opened her eyes to see Sasuke standing with the kunai through his palm, grasping Sakon's fist, a sight that left her momentarily stunned. Sasuke began to channel lighting a large chakra through the contact. Lighting release, depth charge, electrocuting Sakon. After a few seconds, Yukon melded out of Sakura's body and tackled his brother away from Sasuke. Sasuke pulled the kunai out of his palm and offered Sakura a hand to get up. Are you all right? Yeah, thank you, Idon. Sakura gasped. Sasuke, she said as she gestured to his eyes. Sasuke looked down into the reflection of the bloody kunai to see a Sharingan in both of his eyes, one Tomo in each eye. The immense joy that surged through Sasuke was foreign, but this feeling was interrupted by Jirobo landing behind Sakura. He saw Sasuke's Sharingan. Damn, as if you weren't enough trouble before. On the other hand, Yukon rejoined with Sakon, healing most of his injuries. Sasuke and Sakura nodded at each other and ran to opposite sides. Sakura confronted Jirobo, and Sasuke confronted the twins. Jirobo, trying to take Sakura out quickly, he put his hands on the ground and performed Earth Release Earth Flow Spears. Sakura slowed her breathing as she prepared to do one of her riskiest strategies yet. She began to focus on molding Earth Chakra around her dirt. The spike came within a couple of feet, and the technique was disrupted as the spikes started to crumble into the dirt. Jirobo was absolutely shocked. The amount of control needed to disrupt Earth techniques instantly was absurd. Sakura then ran around Jirobo and started to throw shuriken at him. Jirobo, knowing that his Earth technique would not be the best move here, dodged them and began to charge forward at Sakura. She narrowly dodged and continued to her destination as she continued to throw shuriken at Jirobo, leading him. Jirobo continued to take the bait as she finally got to the spot she needed to be. She maneuvered herself to be directly in front of Jirobo. He then began to shoulder discharge at her, but suddenly as he stepped on the ground in front of Sakura, it vanished, revealing a large pit. He began to free fall deep into the pit, started to catch himself, but the walls were covered in an oily substance that didn't allow him to. He began to mold Earth Chakra, but suddenly the image of the pit disappeared. He was above ground, and the only difference was that there was now a kunai on the side of his neck. Sakura was across from him, still in her throwing position. He grasped at the kunai before falling forward on his knees. His form began to morph back to human before he completely collapsed. Sasuke was utterly dominating the brothers. They were fast and unpredictable, but with his new Sharingan, he was able to see their attack before they happened. Using his newfound advantage, he pushed the fight to the river. He needed to take both of them out in one attack since their Kekai Genkai seemed to allow them to have accelerated healing when together. Sasuke jumped and placed an axe kick, sending the conjoined brothers down into the water. He then stepped on the edge of the bank and quickly put both of his hands on top of the water as he prepared to put all of his remaining chakra into Lighting Release Depth Charge. Sasuke put more power into the technique than ever before as he electrified most of the river. He saw air bubbles come to the surface as he continued to channel his technique. After he felt he was almost drained, he stopped his technique. Slowly, dead fish began to rise out of the water. After a few moments, the bodies of Sakon and Yukon emerged, separated from each other and out of their curse mark forms. Sasuke took a breath and turned around to see Jirobo's limp form lying in front of Sakura. When she saw his gaze, she gave him a weak smile, a silent acknowledgement of their shared victory, and he returned it. Zabuza, outside of being slightly singed, was no worse for wear. He went to the ground to track Anko. She couldn't have gotten far, and he was eager to finish her off. Suddenly, Zabuza felt the ground beneath him begin to shake. He jumped back as the ground burst open, revealing a giant snake. The snake fully emerged from the hole, and Zabuza got to see Anko standing on top of the head, looking down at him. "Sorry about leaving suddenly. I had to make some preparations. I just figured you ran away, but you brought a pet back. It seems." Anko used the old nonverbal signals she had created with Myril for combat. She barely remembered it herself, but she performed 2 quick taps with her foot in hopes Myril had a better memory than she did. Mirai understood the command and charged straight at Zabuza. At the last moment, Anko jumped off her head into the air, and Mira dove straight down, burrowing into the earth. While in the air, Anko pointed her arms down. Hidden shadow snake hands. Snakes came out from the sleeves of Anko's trench coat at Zabuza. Zabuza sliced at the snakes, destroying most of them, but a few slipped around the blade and bit him. Taking advantage of Anko's airborne vulnerability, Zabuza jumped into the air and took a slash with his sword. More snakes came out of Anko's sleeves. They attached themselves to a nearby tree and pulled her toward it, allowing her to dodge the slash. The ground spilled open below Zabuza, and Mirai burst her mouth open, ready to sink her fangs into Zabuza. Zabuza parried one of the fangs, which gave him enough momentum midair to dodge out of the way of Mirai's mouth. As he fell, he took his sword and left a long gash down Mirai's body, causing her to hiss in pain. She retaliated by swinging her tail and knocking Zabuza down into the hole she burrowed. Mirai then went back down into the earth and created a new hole, burrowing away. Zabuza managed to land on his feet in the hole. It was about 30 feet deep. As he went to leap out, he looked up to see dozens of tiny flames floating above the hole. Fire release. Flame wisps. Anko began to throw a barrage of fast, blazing senbon down at Zabuza. Zabuza held his massive blade over his vital areas, but Anko's attacks continued to tear into his arms and legs. He also felt the flaming senbon begin to chip away at his sword. Zabuza, for one of the few times in his life, was at the mercy of another's ninja's attack. After what felt like an eternity, Anko's attack stopped. Zabuza reviewed his injuries and the damage done to his blade. His sword was chipped all across, with a crack beginning to form across the middle of the blade. His arms and legs were full of holes, and he had burns all over them. The pain was excruciating. He guessed he had only a few minutes before the adrenaline of the fight wore off, and he would be no longer able to move. Zabuza, on sheer will, jumped out of the pit in one leap and landed outside. Anko was across from him, breathing heavily, with her injured summon standing tall behind her. I have to say, I haven't fought many summons before, but yours is definitely the biggest pain I've encountered. You don't have to do this. We don't have to kill each other. We can both walk away now and live. I can't do that. My pride won't allow me. So one of us has to die, and that's the end of it. Huh. Zabuza nodded. Anko turned to Mirai. Stay back. Don't interfere. Mirai complied and slithered back a distance. Anko then took a kunai and palmed it. Zabuza raised the sword, put it over his shoulder, and began to charge. Anko followed suit. As the two got closer and prepared for the final strike, Anko dropped the kunai from her grip. From her sleeve, a small snake grabbed the handle in its mouth, thrusting forward and planting the kunai into Zabuza's chest. Hidden snake blade. Zabuza stood, trying his hardest to swing his blade. Anko was within his reach, but couldn't find the energy to swing the sword. He looked down at the kunai in his chest and at Anko. It looks like I underestimated you. Tell me what your name is. Anko Mitarashi. I'm a special jonin. Ha, special jonin, my ass. That's what I've been saying. Zabuza felt the strength leaving his body. His mind began to swarm with regrets, and his last moments became unrestful mentally. Deciding to allay some of this, he asked Anko a question. Can you do me a favor? Sure. Always up for last requests. My apprentice, Haku, the one fighting your kid, tells him he's free to do what he wants. Zabuza continued. Tell him I'm sorry for being so cold to him. He is still too kind for this kind of life. Tell him to leave and not end up like me. Don't worry, I'll tell him, reassured Anko. Zabuza fell backward and looked toward the sky. You know, I always knew I would die on the battlefield, but I never thought that it would be this peaceful. Zabuza closed his eyes for the last time as the demon of the mist passed on, with a look of peace on his face, one which he never achieved in life. Naruto was down on one knee, breathing heavily, his body covered in sanbon. Over the last few minutes, Naruto had learned a hard truth. He wasn't fast enough. No matter what he did or what his strategy was, he couldn't find a way to counter Haku's speed. Haku would destroy his clones as soon as they appeared, and he was less mobile due to the senbon disabling feeling throughout his body. Please stop moving. I can get away with not killing you. I can't. I have to get to Anko. The masked ninja's demeanor dampened and saddened me about her friend. No, I can't let that happen. I have. Naruto charged toward a mirror. The ninja unleashed another flurry of sanbon, striking Naruto. He collapsed onto the ground, motionless. Haku let out a deep sigh behind his mask. He could only hope that Naruto was still alive. No one had ever taken that many senbon and survived. He feared he couldn't keep Naruto alive after the battle. Haku looked toward where Zabuza was fighting, wondering about his whereabouts. Naruto's companion must be very strong for Zabuza to be engaged in such a lengthy battle with her. Feeling a more intense and malevolent presence than Zabuza, Haku shivered and looked at Naruto's form. In the dome, a cloak of red bubbling chakra began to form around Naruto. As he slowly began to get up, Haku then noticed the change in Naruto's features. His hair grew spikier, and his nails and canines sharpened. His pupils became slits, his eyes turned red, and the whisker marks on his face grew more pronounced. Naruto roared, producing a shockwave in the dome, which launched the sanbon out of his body and cracked some of the ice mirrors. Haku sensed danger and immediately went to disable Naruto by planting a sanbon into his neck. Haku felt Naruto's fist hit his stomach, sending him flying, destroying the mirror, and sending Haku flying into a tree. In a frenzy, Naruto sped after Haku and shoved his knee into his chest. He then grabbed Haku's arm with such force that Haku howled in pain as he heard the bone snap. Naruto then threw Haku into another tree. Haku was in a daze. He had barely an idea of what was happening and was in immense pain. He saw Naruto standing over him, his palm outstretched and claws extended, ready to end Haku's life. Haku was prepared to accept his fate, but suddenly, a voice yelled out to Naruto, "Naruto, stop!" Haku and Naruto turned to see Anko on top of a giant snake. Upon seeing Anko, the chakra around Naruto slowly began to fade, and his features began to return to normal. As he ran toward Anko, Anko hopped off of Mirai, holding her side, as Naruto ran into full force and began to hug her tightly. Anko grimaced in pain. "Hey, calm down. I'm not exactly healthy here. Sis, I'm so glad you're okay. I did not know you had a brother," said Mirai. "He's not biological, but more of a forced surrogate brother at this point." Naruto's emotions changed on the dime after he heard Mirai talk. "Wait, this snake can talk. That's so cool. Also, I completely forgot. You can summon snakes. When were you going to tell me? And can you teach me how?" "This snake is named Mirai," responded Mirai. Their banter was interrupted by Haku's voice.